things that make life all that magical. Now, speaking of magical, you have Anthony Ant-Man Edwards. That is a mismatch for everybody in the NBA. Now that he has developed that three-point game and he can shoot the lights out like a Steph Curry, like a Damian Lillard, like somebody who we are accustomed to seeing do it from long range for quite some time in Trae Young, none of those three guys I just mentioned have anything close to his athletic ability. So he's always going to be a mismatch, especially when it comes to playing an older team without a rim protector. Why was Minnesota able to sweep the Phoenix Suns last year when, again, Phoenix actually cared about playing playoff basketball? Because they had no rim protector. DeAndre Ayton was no longer in Phoenix, so it was very easy for Anthony Edwards to get to the rim anytime he wanted. We saw that against Denver. Why was Minnesota able to beat the reigning defending champion Denver Nuggets in 2024 in the Western Conference semifinals? It wasn't because they were the better team. It's because they had no answer for Anthony Edwards. And that is why the Lakers, sorry, Greg in Michigan, that is why the Lakers are in a lot of trouble against Minnesota. Not just for one game. I ain't going to be prisoner of the moment. They're in a lot of trouble because they have no answer for him. And you traded away your one rim protector in Anthony Davis. Now, Jackson Hayes is a nice young piece. He's not a rim protector. He's not going to be able to stop Anthony Edwards. Now, with all that being said, what you also saw was Naz Reid. You saw an individual in Jaden McDaniels, and they were great. They were amazing as role players. I didn't expect those two individuals to have more points than LeBron and Luka combined in the first half, but that's exactly what happened. And that's why the Timberwolves were able to get out in front and ultimately take the second quarter 38-20, and then in the third quarter find themselves up by 27 points. They are an awful matchup for LA. It's that simple. It's why the Lakers are in trouble. It's why they're not going to make any noise in the postseason. It's why, despite the fact that LeBron James hired his best friend podcasting buddy, JJ Redick, and all the hoopla that came with that, they're not going to go anywhere. LeBron James, I understand game ones are typical fill-out games. This is not the time to fill out a game, especially when you know the Timberwolves have been playing extremely well down the stretch of the regular season. They were 17-4 to end the regular season. I think people sleep on that. You talk about being an average team. There was an adjustment period when they were average at one point this year. You had the likes of Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, so you were missing Karl Anthony Towns, obviously. That's a very different team than what you put out there last year when you made a run to the Western Conference Finals. So there was an adjustment period. But in the second half of the season, the Timberwolves have been playing anything but like a 6th typical seed. They're looking more like a 2 or 3 seed. And the Lakers, unfortunately, found out the hard way on Saturday. LeBron, for him to finish with just 19 points, for him to come up with just 3 assists, for Anthony Ant-Man Edwards to triple up the assists of the King, nobody expected that. And while Luka Doncic is gifted as an offensive player, 37 points, there was only so much that he could do because he's never going to be able to dominate on both sides of the floor. And then Rui Hachimura, I think someone made him go missing in the second half because he contributed absolutely nothing in the second half. Austin Reeves, he came on too slow. Here's also the thing. Luka and LeBron combined for 30. The other 6 Lakers had a combined 18 points. So by the time you get to the end of the first half, you just felt like this was going to be in large part Minnesota's game because the Minnesota Timberwolves, they were playing on the backs of Naz Reid, Jaden McDaniels, and that's the reason why they got up in the first half. Anthony Ant-Man Edwards was basically quiet in the first half. He only had 8 points, and the Timberwolves were still up by double digits heading into the second half, which tells you Anthony Edwards was just getting ready to go off in the third quarter, and that's exactly what he did with 9 third-quarter points. Impressive when you consider he had just 8 in the first 2. And the Lakers were too much one and done in the second half. They were settling for way too many outside shots. They were not the aggressive team. They were not having any kind of continuity on offense. They were not getting back on fast breaks. That's a problem. And when you have home court advantage for the first time in the playoffs since you won the actual championship back in the 2020 bubble, and this is how you reward the fans, this is how you pay your respects to those that are supporting you at Crypto.com Arena for LeBron James to come out and have 19 points and 3 assists, I know he's in year 22, but he's still LeBron bleeping James. He's still an all-NBA first team, second team caliber player. Where's the energy? Where's the heart? Where's the desire to compete? I didn't see that from LeBron. And again, I get that he's logged more minutes than anyone else in NBA history. I understand that. But this is a hungry, absolutely motivated Minnesota Timberwolves team. And it's all about matchups. That's what it comes down to. Anthony Edwards is pissed off because so many people believe that he was the face of the NBA last year. And then what happened? Fast forward to this following year, and people were questioning that. Dante DiVincenzo and Julius Randle were pissed because they felt like they should have been in New York, and they got traded. Naz Reid, a consummate professional, he continues to come off the bench. You know he feels like he should be starting. Rudy Gobert, I don't know a player in the modern-day game that gets more disrespected than Rudy Gobert. Chris Finch, hearing about, being on the hot seat, only, being able to take one game off the Dallas Mavericks in the Western Conference Finals, then getting off to a very sluggish start in 2024. He heard the whispers of people calling for his job. So this is not just a talented team. It's not just a young team. It's not just a really high-volume three-point shooting team, which all spells trouble for LA. But you got a bunch of hungry guys. And as we've seen in playoff series past, when you give the Timberwolves any kind of leeway and they feel like they have control of a series, they don't let up. You saw what happened against Denver. You saw what happened when they swept the Phoenix Suns, featuring Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and Kevin Durant, when they kind of enjoyed playing together. In the NBA, it's never about the better team. It's about who has the better matchup. And Anthony Edwards, again, with his playmaking ability, with his just absolute fortitude when it comes to attacking the rim, the Lakers cannot stay in front of him. So while the Lakers end up losing by 22 points, this is not going to be an aberration. This is actually going to be something that is a trend. And I love all those people that have been tweeting at me the last 3 months that JJ Redick is the next up-and-coming heir apparent to Pat Riley. Stop it. You're fooling yourself. JJ Redick is one of the luckiest coaches in the history of basketball. He happened to link up and align with LeBron James in a podcast. And because of that, it created the ultimate green light for the Lakers to get LeBron's guy into that chair. No other reason than that. Had never been a coach on any level except for, I believe, his sixth grade son's team. That's the qualifications he had. And everyone was telling me, Shep, look at what he was able to pull off. 50-win season for the Lakers. So what? So what? David Blatt was an exceptional regular season coach too. How'd that work out for him? He couldn't even last 2 years in the NBA because the postseason is so different compared to the regular season. Because in the postseason, everybody plays hard. In the postseason, you see teams that actually enjoy, for the most part, playing with each other. You're not playing against teams where half the guys are out of the lineup because they're too busy thinking about getting Cooper Flagg in the 2025 NBA draft. And the Lakers, they got the ultimate wake-up call. And the problem is they just don't have the talent nor the athleticism to be able to truly come through and make it so that they have a competitive series. So for me, my biggest takeaway so far from the NBA postseason and what was the official NBA postseason is that the Lakers, they're in a lot of trouble. And it's not lost on me that you fired a head coach that had been there for just 2 years when he brought you to a Western Conference Finals in year one, and in year two, he lost to the reigning world champion Denver Nuggets, and you elected to dismiss him for someone without a single lick of coaching experience. And he did not have his squad ready whatsoever in game one of their particular postseason run. Now, the schedulers, they did the Lakers a solid. The Lakers do not have another game until 3 days later, so that's going to do really well for LeBron James and his 22-year knees. But the truth of the matter is they need a whole lot of adjustments they're going to have to make in order to get back in this particular series because the Timberwolves, it's the worst possible matchup for LA. The athleticism, the three-point shooting, and the hunger that Minnesota seems to have that the Lakers desperately do not. So let's hear from the winning team. Anthony Edwards, he lived up to the hype, and he certainly seized the moment playing in the second biggest market in North America. That, of course, is Los Angeles. Let's hear from Ant-Man right after the win. Liam, do we have the sound? Okay, we do.
It's easy. It's easy for me, man. I've played in Denver, man. Denver is a tough place to play in on the road. So, I mean, it was nothing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's a confident dude. I mean, that's an individual that when it comes to Anthony Edwards, right, he's somebody that doesn't matter if he's speaking to Joe Public, doesn't matter if he's speaking to someone who has the highest office in all the land. He is one of the most confident individuals you will ever see on a basketball floor. And listen, he is very well aware that they were not picked to be the favorite for this particular series when we may be seeing a potential sweep, which is the scary thing. And don't you dare doubt Anthony Edwards, or else he'll let you hear about it.
They still got the Lakers. The Lakers supposed to win. That's just how it's supposed to go. We're not supposed to be here, so we're just going to compete to the best of our ability.
Look, if you're the Lakers, this is an incredible disappointment. And, Liam, good job on this cut sheet, man, because you have the out cue. It wasn't even necessary, but good on you for going above and beyond with that. I don't like this kind of quote if I am a Lakers fan, knowing that this could very well be the final chapter of LeBron James's career. J.J. Redick, he was very honest after this particular loss, and I believe these comments are rather troubling. Take a listen.
We were mentally ready. I thought our spirit was right. I thought even when they made runs, our huddles were great. The communication was great. I'm not sure physically we were ready.
Okay, so Liam, how old are you?
20.
20. But you're a very bright individual, especially for someone who's 20. Let me ask you a question. When you are down 27 points in the third quarter, and the head coach comes on the podium afterwards and says, "We were ready," is that a lie if you've ever heard one?
Well, it depends on what he's ready for. Ready to lose? Then he would be telling the truth.
I mean, come on, JJ. Like, we're not idiots, man. Like, I know you think like you absolutely carved up the media in your 3 years at ESPN and with your old man of the 3 podcasts, but like, don't take us for fools. You were clearly not ready. You were one and done every single time down the floor in the fourth quarter. There was no continuity on offense. LeBron James, who's still a locomotive in year 22, you created no kind of offense for him to get going. It was just the Luka Doncic show. Austin Reeves was flat for the first half. Rui Hachimura disappeared in the second half. I think Jackson Hayes disappeared for the entire game. Don't sit there and insult our intelligence by saying, yeah, we're ready. You were not ready. Because, JJ, something that I am very familiar with is not just the NBA, but college basketball. And Greg in Michigan, I apologize, but we got to keep it real about JJ. Obviously, he had a successful basketball career. Okay, you play 15 years in the NBA, anyone would consider that a success. But let's look at not just his 15-year career in the pros. Let's look at what he did at Duke when he was, quote unquote, one of the most accomplished players in the history of that program. He doesn't win. JJ doesn't win. He'll win the press conference. He'll win the interview. He'll win the soundbite. He'll win the podcast. But he doesn't win. I got 19 years to prove that. I got 19 years of receipts as a really decorated college basketball player in the regular season, as a lethal outside shooter at the pro level. He never won. And so you have an individual out there in a Mark Jackson, in a Jeff Van Gundy, with so much more coaching experience, and you go with the guy who for 19 years, because I consider Duke somewhat of a professional program, given they're the most recognizable college basketball brand in the world, for 19 years, he could not figure out how to win. When his teams were favored every single year at Duke, by the way, and they couldn't even make, well, they did make a Final Four his sophomore year, but they had no business losing to UConn in that Final Four when they were the heavy favorites with not just J.J. Redick, but obviously at the time you saw Chris Duhon. I mean that team was loaded. They had no business losing to UConn. Luol Deng was also on that Final Four team. So every single stop he's had, every single stop, he has not been able to get through that glass ceiling of championship pedigree. And the Lakers thought, well, let's go with a guy that's never won and bring him to arguably the most successful franchise in the history of the NBA. Now, in fairness, I know Boston has the most championships, but they did rack up a lot of those championships in the 50s and 60s, not to diminish the accomplishments of Bill Russell, but they had all those championships because they played in an era when there was only 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 teams. So to me, when you look at 1980 on, when we're talking about 25 to 30 teams, that's when the Lakers have proven to be, without question, the most successful franchise in NBA history. With all that being said, let's hear from number 23. Hey, LeBron, how the hell do you let the Timberwolves get up to such a lead in the third quarter where they are beating your brains in by 27 points?
Offensive rebounds, giving up open shots to lasers, not being in the right position. So it was a lot of factors that allowed them to build that big lead up to 27.
Yeah, that's kind of just what I said. So it's good to see LeBron and I are on the same wavelength. Hey, LeBron, come on the show. That's my 20th request to have LeBron James on the show. Probably not going to happen anytime soon. I ain't giving up. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That is 888-710-4476. When you look at the Lakers as presently constructed and how they fared against the Minnesota Timberwolves on Saturday when they got their asses handed to them and lose by 22 points, are you in the same camp that I am? I believe the Lakers are in trouble. This is not a prisoner of the moment take. This is not a what have you done for me lately take. It's a terrible matchup, and we saw when the Timberwolves absolutely put it into overdrive, the Lakers had nothing in terms of a response. Again, number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That is 888-710-4476. When we get back, the NBA, we'll take your calls on that. But that was not the only postseason going on. NHL. And how about those Jets? Not New York, Winnipeg. We'll get to that next. We get to your NBA calls. This is The Good Shepard on the Infinity Sports Network. If you cannot get through our busy phone line at 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476, Liam, at some point I'm going to have that memorized, hopefully in the next week. You can always hit us up on our YouTube chat on the Infinity Sports Network page. I have not glanced on it since I made sure we were live, but I guarantee the usual suspects are there as always. It's a show within the show, and as I've always said, every single time I do the show, it is not just about me. It is about you. It is your show as much as my show. So get your opinions, get your insight on our airwaves. We're in 300-plus markets across North America. Party's just getting started. We're coming right back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
David, Shep, I just wanted to tell you, man, I listen to your late night talk all the time. One of the things that really stuck out to me, a few weeks back, my guy, the Warrior, Mr. Positive, he lost his job, and you were just so kind to him.
This is the Good Shepherd, 855-212-4227.
Welcome back, everybody. This is David Shepard on the Infinity Sports Network. Man, Greg from Michigan, getting a lot of plugs so far. Speaking of getting a lot of plugs so far, man, my guy Glenn in Ontario had to get this out there before we get back to your NBA calls. It's not just the season of NBA playoffs. It, of course, is the NHL playoffs. And the Winnipeg Jets, they did something this year that they have not done in franchise history, and that is win the President's Trophy. And obviously, for anyone who follows the NHL understands that means you finish with the most points in an NHL season from both conferences. Now, what makes it even more impressive, besides from getting home ice the rest of the way, if they can make it all the way to the Stanley Cup final, is that a Canadian team has not accomplished this in 13 years. Last time to accomplish it was the Vancouver Canucks, and that was 13 years ago, obviously. But what's even more interesting, and I understand there's a limitation on the amount of teams, it's about 1/4 of the NHL when you do the math, but there has not been a Canadian team to win a Stanley Cup trophy since 1993. That was the Montreal Canadiens. It's been so long that the Rangers' last Stanley Cup before a Canadian team won was in the 50s, just to give you some perspective on that. So you see at the Canada Life Center, they are selling out these days. With no exception, we saw that in Game 1 against the St. Louis Blues as the Winnipeg Jets tipped off the NHL postseason with a 5-3 to win. It always helps that 3 of those goals were unanswered and in the final period. And then you got to love the play of Kyle Connor, not just with how he did in terms of assisting guys, 2 assists on the game, but the ultimate deciding goal with 1:36 left to play, ultimately snapping a 3-3 tie. And there's nothing like playoff hockey. There's nothing like hockey announcers. We might as well hear that game-deciding goal on the Jets radio network.
Morrissey, left side point, along the boards now for Shifley, twists off the boards, far side, shot, they score! Kyle Connor with his first of the playoffs, and Winnipeg has regained the lead. It's 4-3 for the Jets with 1:36 remaining in this third period.
Nobody's surprised that the Winnipeg Jets won this game, not because of having just the best record in the NHL, but speaking of matchups, they are a bad matchup for the St. Louis Blues. They have won 3 of their 4 contests against them in the regular season. Now, believe it or not, I was impressed with the Blues because we saw them as the aggressor early on. I think they had like 33 checks compared to 14, but at the end of the day, in hockey, it's all about the W. And you heard from Mark Scheifele on that broadcast. He certainly talked about how the Jets bounced back in postseason game number 1. Take a listen.
Just never quit. Just continue to do the right things over and over and over. And they battled hard, blocked a lot of shots. Binnington made some big saves, but honestly, great effort by everyone.
We do a lot of NBA this time of year. I recognize that. I got to show some love to the NHL playoffs. It doesn't have to just be the conference finals or the Stanley Cup final in order for us to talk about it. If there is an opinion that you want to weigh on when it comes to, obviously, the Winnipeg Jets and their run so far in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and I got to give some love to this guy, Nathan MacKinnon, the MVP, the Hart Trophy winner of 2023-2024. He was amazing in their win. He was unbelievable for the Avalanche as they routed, and I mean routed, the Dallas Stars 5-1. That wasn't even a contest. The reality is the Stars finished the regular season really poorly on an 0-5-2 stretch. Remember, it's like soccer. You can get ties in this sport, even though you get a point in the NHL if you get a tie. And the reality is this is a team that started off on home ice this year, 28-5-3. For them to squander the opening matchup in such a fashion in which it was no contest. And then again, Nathan MacKinnon, 2 goals in this game, more goals by himself than the entire Dallas Stars squad. There's a reason why he, in fact, was the MVP of last year's NHL's regular season, not to mention the fact that he also had his 50th career playoff goal. Those are my takeaways so far from the NHL playoffs. What are yours? Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That's 888-710-4476. Liam, I think that was a pretty damn good hockey segment, if you ask me.
I think so, too.
I mean, I'm not going to pretend like I am an expert in hockey, but I do think we have an obligation to talk about it, discuss it, dissect it. I'm not going to pretend to know the same amount of knowledge about the NHL that I do the NBA or the NFL or even the MLB, but I think that was a serviceable NHL public announcement segment. What do you think?
Definitely. It's one of the 4 major sports. You got to get it in, and you got it in, so mission accomplished.
Thank you, brother. By the way, speaking of which, Mission Impossible, it's the last movie of that franchise with Tom Cruise. Are you sad by that?
Considering I haven't seen any of them,
Okay, fair enough. Not the biggest Mission Impossible fan. Noted. Number to get aboard, 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Let's hit the busy phone lines. Dave, appreciate the patience, man. How you doing in Chi-Town? What you got for us, sir?
How you doing, brother? Happy Easter to everyone.
You too,
for
Dave.
Those celebrating. I want to get to sports quickly, but just if I could have 30 seconds, I work for this suicide helpline, and a lot of people are struggling on the eve of this holiday with custody issues, drinking issues.
Sure.
I mean, myself as a recovering alcoholic, I hope that everyone reaches out to everyone they're close to.
That's a very noble statement, Dave. Obviously, there's a lot of people that unfortunately in this country suffer in silence, and it is very, very important and significant that everyone feels like they have someone, doesn't matter how many people, but at least one person they can always turn to. And again, I've told you this in the past, and I'll tell you it again, Dave. I just appreciate your journey, your story, and the work that you do to help your fellow men and women in larger society, man. So you're a champion for that.
I'm not a champion at all, but the lines were packed tonight, so I know there's a lot of people struggling. But anyway, moving on to sports, I was telling Liam, who seems to be a really nice guy.
He is a nice guy. You believe he's 20? He doesn't sound 20 to me.
I can't believe it. I mean, I'm hoping one day you and I have a show together. But
Dave, that I hear that's possible. I hear that might happen very soon. That's the rumor on the street. I'm also sucking up to Liam in case he's my boss one day. So I have that going for me.
But what I was going to say is, as it relates to the NBA playoffs, I usually have pretty good takes on the NBA, as I think I've demonstrated. But the West is so hard for me to figure out this year.
Yep.
I really think 6 or 7 of the teams could legitimately win, and the East is so much different.
Correct.
The East is basically 2 teams, in my opinion. But the West, I think it could be really fun playoffs to watch the West.
I agree, Dave. Obviously, you talk about the East, you got the 2, front runners in Cleveland and Boston, and then in the West, to your point, it's wide open. Even though, the Thunder have a double-digit lead in terms of wins over every other team, they don't really have the championship pedigree. They don't have the playoff experience. They've only won 1 playoff series with the nucleus of SGA, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren. So, yeah, to your point, it is wide open. I don't think the Lakers are going to be part of that wide open conversation because, again, they had a really bad matchup. But the truth of the matter is it's going to be a very interesting watch when it comes to the Western Conference. Not as compelling as the Eastern Conference. Dave, again, man, I know you say you're not a champion, but trust me, you are. And I appreciate the phone call as always. You have a wonderful holiday, and we'll talk soon, okay?
All right, brother.
Thanks, man. Always good to hear from Dave in Chicago. Number to get aboard, 888-710-4ISN. That is 888-710-4476. Let's get to Bert in Baltimore. Bert, that's a nice alliteration right there. How you doing, man? What you got for us?
Oh, you bet. How you doing, Shep?
Good. Bert, how are you?
I'm good, man. Hey, 2 things. Number one, I just want to echo every other caller's sentiments in stating just quickly that the folks upstairs clearly made what they call the wrong call. You got a great show.
Thank you.
You got the
Bert,
most loyal callers.
I just want to, Bert. I'm going to let you continue. I just want to make sure that we're very clear on this. I'm very grateful for my time here at the Infinity Sports Network. They have every right to make whatever decision they want. They went with Pat Boyle for overnights. He's talented. He works hard. He's going to put everything he has into it, and he should be very thrilled with what he's done in his career, and it's he's only scratching the surface. So I wish Pat nothing but the best. I'm going to root for him every step of the way. And for me, Bert, I'm grateful to be here on the Infinity Sports Network. For the last 4 years behind a microphone, and I'm just going to keep doing the best shows that I can do. But I appreciate your support for me. But again, I'm going to support Pat, and I would encourage you and everyone else to do the same. And I have no doubt that someone like you will do that. So with that being said, Bert, what do you believe so far is your takeaway for the NBA playoffs, more specifically the Lakers? Are you as down on them as I am?
So you're a first-class act, Mr. Shepard, and I'll leave it at that. With regard to the Lakers, now, I also used to have a similar issue more than a decade ago that the gentleman before called had. I've been sober for more than 10 years.
Sure.
And when I turned the radio on tonight, I actually questioned whether I was hallucinating again or listening to you last night.
All right.
Commend J.J. Redick's coaching job and say you have the Lakers coming out of the West.
Okay. So, Bert, if I said that, I was doing it with a little tongue-in-cheek. I'm not going to lie to you. I'll be honest. He did a really good job in the regular season. With that being said, I have also said on numerous occasions that the Lakers, if they get the wrong matchup, Bert, we all know the last 2 years, they have not been able to hold a candle to Denver, ever. They cannot get past them.
Yeah.
And what you see now, without a rim protector, they have no one to nullify and neutralize Rudy Gobert, right? Because Rudy Gobert is going to be an assassin on the inside. Julius Randle, he's going to be assassin on the glass. Anthony Edwards, he's going to get to the tin whenever he wants. You saw Jaden McDaniels doing a one-step like he was in an N1 mixtape tour. There's no answer for the Timberwolves because you traded away Anthony Davis. Now, there's no question in my mind who won that trade. But when it comes to this particular matchup, they would have been better served with AD as long as he was healthy than Luka Doncic, because as gifted as Luka is offensively, he can't stop a turnstile, let alone an NBA offensive gifted player, let alone stand in front of someone and actually protect the rim. So to me, that's why the Lakers, I don't believe, are going to come out on this series. Now, with that being said, if they had a different matchup, like if they had OKC, they would have won that series.
Hold on, you don't think the Lakers are going to win the series?
No, I do not. I do not. Absolutely not. No, I mean, clearly you did not hear me in the first segment because I thought I made it abundantly clear.
I did hear the first.
Right.
That's why I called this like 20 minutes as soon as I heard you say that.
Got you.
Just last night you said you had the Lakers coming out of the West.
I was saying that tongue in cheek. Yeah, I don't.
I got the Lakers in 6. I'm an old man in my 50s. Little bit wider perspective. Don't overreact to game 1. Lakers in 6.
All right, Bert. I look forward to revisiting this with you, man. You got a lot of faith in the purple and gold.
Of course.
Bert, man,
I'm rarely right, but it's always fun.
Listen, the best thing about it is just think you're right and don't have anyone tell you anything regardless, and therefore you're always right. Bert, you have a good rest of your Sunday morning, man. Always good to hear from you. Thank you, bro.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bert. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That is 888-710-4476. We talked a lot about the Lakers in the first segment, but I'm curious. When it comes to the NHL playoffs, what do you believe is going to be the most exciting thing about this particular run? Could it be the Maple Leafs winning their first Stanley Cup trophy for the first time since 1967 when Liam was just 2 years old? That's a joke, Liam. When you talk about the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, it doesn't get a lot of notoriety and conversation until we get to the conference finals. But my question for you is what you witnessed from the Winnipeg Jets and their decisive 5-3 victory, what you saw from the Colorado Avalanche in an even more decisive victory over the Dallas Stars. What has been your main takeaway so far about the NHL playoffs? And Glenn, I do not want to hear that I don't bring up the NHL during the first round anymore. Thank you very much. Again, number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That is 888-710-4476. When we get back, there was some more action on the hardwood. And that, of course, was in the form of a Russell Westbrook revenge game. Yeah, you heard that right. We get to your calls. We get to Dangerous Russ on the other side. Before we do anything else, let's get to our latest sports flash. Here is Kavitha Davidson.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, Shep, sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Your small business keeps you on the go. Progressive Commercial Insurance keeps your policy within reach with our easy-to-use mobile app. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. Knicks take Game 1 from the Pistons 123-112. Detroit looked in control after 3, but New York went on a 21-0 run in the fourth. Tobias Harris was held to just 3 points in the second half.
Obviously for this group, guys having first-time playoff experience is just understanding, like, yeah, it stinks to lose, but it's all about how you come back next night.
Wolves rout the Lakers 117-95. Luka Doncic had 37 points, his 11th highest scoring playoff game ever, but it wasn't enough for LA. Minnesota was raining threes. They made a franchise playoff record 21 threes on 42 attempts, including 6 from Naz Reid and 4 apiece by Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards. Nuggets beat the Clippers 112-110 in overtime. Nikola Jokic led Denver with 29 points, 9 rebounds, 12 assists, but it was Russell Westbrook coming up clutch down the stretch. After the game, Nuggets interim head coach David Edelman talked about the impact the veterans play on both sides of the ball.
Defensively, he was absolutely incredible. He was playing free safety out there. I thought a lot of the reasons why the turnovers happened, even if it wasn't him forcing it, just the way he was roaming around and impacting the game, was great for us.
Nuggets are now 4-0 under Edelman. For the Clippers, it's their first loss since March 30th. Pacers beat the Bucks 117-98. Indiana shot 61% from the field in the first half and never looked back, at one point leading by 28. On to the Stanley Cup playoffs. Jets with a huge 3-goal third period to beat the Blues 5-3. Bit of a scuffle after Winnipeg's empty netter in the final minute of play. And the Avs beat the Stars 5-1, 2 goals and an assist from Nate McKinnon. Some drama in Toronto over in a Major League Baseball. Benches cleared after Blue Jays pitcher Jose Barrios exchanged words with Mariners catcher Cal Raleigh. Barrios apparently believing Raleigh was tipping pitches. I'm Kavitha Davidson.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is, play Infinity Sports Network. That's it. Play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He like the smoothest dude in America, man. I like dude, man. Cool dude, man.
This is the Good Shepherd, the Infinity Sports Network.
Welcome back, everybody. David Shepard on the Infinity Sports Network. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That is 888-710-4476. I do want to honor the redemption of Russell Westbrook because he was flat out incredible, not just from shooting from long range, but also his ability to deflect the inbounds pass from the Clippers, and which led to the game-sealing defensive play in what was, without question, the best game we saw in the first round of the NBA playoffs so far. But let's get to that at the top. Let's really give him his proper respect. I do want to honor people, speaking of respect, that have been waiting on the phone lines for quite some time. So let's get to Keith in Western Pennsylvania. Keith, good morning. How you doing, sir? What you got for us?
Pretty good. You?
I got no complaints, Keith. Western Pennsylvania, that's a very specific place. Where in Western Pennsylvania?
Well, it's a border town bordering Ohio.
Very nice, man. So something tells me you're a Steelers
Closer to Youngstown than Pittsburgh.
Oh, so you're a Jim Tressel fan, I take it.
No.
Okay, fair enough. So what do you have for us, Keith?
I may have misunderstood what you said earlier about, not counting championships before 1980.
Well, I say that to, I mean, Keith, like for me, and I say this all the time if you want to compare something apples to oranges, right? When John Wooden won his 10 national titles in 12 years, it was an amazing accomplishment, without question. But he was also doing it against a lot less teams, right? You didn't have the expanded tournament with 68 teams, something that Coach K had to endure, or Roy Williams, or Jay Wright. So it's tougher to win in today's age than it was 40, 50 years ago because there was just less competition. It doesn't take away from what they accomplished, but when I look at the Lakers, and they won 5 championships with Magic and Kareem, and then win 3 with Shaq and Kobe, and then win with 2 with Kobe and Powell, and then win 1 with LeBron and AD. That's obviously 11 NBA championships, when in the same time frame, the Celtics have won just 5. So I don't view those championships they won in the 50s and 60s when there was just 14, 15 teams the same way I do teams today when there's 30 teams. Does that make sense, Keith?
Well, you may be right with college basketball, okay? But when there were less teams, especially in baseball, I would think that the teams were more talented because the talent pool was, there were better teams. There were guys that, today to bat 200 wouldn't have made those teams.
Yeah, that's a fair point. No, I can appreciate that perspective.
And the Lakers, they won 6 with George Mikan.
They won 5 with George Mikan.
You're not going to count those.
I don't count those. You're talking about the teams with John Kundla, and George Mikan and Vern Mickelson and Jim Pollard and Slater Martin. No, I don't judge those the same. I mean, we're talking about the Minneapolis days. I mean, that's right. That's before they obviously moved to the West Coast. And that was when a guy who was 6'10" and George Mikan was truly the first NBA superstar, but there was no one in that time that was even 6'10" outside of Mikan. So that just goes to show you as much talent as they may have had for that respective time. And I hate these conversations because it's just unfair to them because they didn't have the technology. They didn't have the nutrition that athletes have today. They had to get on, flights where, there was often connectors, right? Where now every team has their own plane, for God's sakes. So if you're George Mikan and company, the reason why they won a lot of championships was because there were probably less than 10 teams at the time in the late 40s and early 50s.
Yeah, but you just can't erase history.
No, you can't erase history, but you can put it into its proper context.
Okay, the science of sports today is a lot more advanced. Could you imagine if Babe Ruth didn't stay up drinking all night?
Yeah. And if he wasn't a womanizer, imagine how many more home runs he would have hit. Probably would have had 1,000. Probably would have had 1,000. And imagine how many home runs he would have hit if he wasn't a Hall of Fame pitcher to actually begin his baseball career, which a lot of people forget about.
Imagine how many home runs he would have hit if they had the science of today.
Would have been a lot more than 714. Keith, anyone ever tell you have like a radio voice? Like you just have. Has anyone ever told you that before?
No.
No, you have a very good speaking voice, Keith.
Oh, thank you.
You really do. Hey, man, thank you for the call. I appreciate it. It's good to hear from you. I don't know if we've ever spoken before, but I appreciate you making time for us.
I must be getting old.
Well, you're not. How old are you?
69.
You're 69 years old?
Yes.
That's young, Keith. That's young.
Oh, yeah. I hope so.
Hey, you know what Hubie Brown calls 69?
What's that?
You know what Hubie Brown calls 69 years old?
Halfway.
Yeah, I was going to make a joke like that. You beat me to the punchline. Well done, Keith. Good to talk to you, man. You have a good rest of your morning, okay, sir?
All right.
Thanks, Keith. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That is 888-710-4476. Hey, Liam, man, where do you fall in this argument? Like, yes, to Keith's point, obviously when there's less teams, there's more talent on said teams because there's less guys available. So it's not as spread out, right? There's not as much parity. But to me, I think it's a lot easier to win championships in any sport in the 40s, 50s, and 60s compared to 20s, 10s, 2020s when there's 30 teams in every single league at this point.
Yeah, think about one of those teams with a higher volume, I guess, of talent. They could have one bad week and get out of the playoffs, and that one team that you have to worry about is gone.
Yeah.
But now in today's NBA, there's a few teams that could be in the mix because there are so many of them.
Do you like the lights off in there? I can't. It's your decision. I'm not going to force you to do it. You do what you want. I can't see you.
We spoke about this a few weeks ago.
Right.
I just walked in and the lights were off. So during this break, I will put the lights on.
I'm asking. No, listen. It's your decision.
I don't mind.
Does that distract you?
No.
It doesn't throw you off? Can you actually see?
I can see you fine, yeah.
That's crazy. I can't see you.
The lighting, because you've got all the professional lighting in there.
I feel like I'm talking to a ghost in there, but I can hear the voice, so I know you're there. Well done, Liam. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. We got professional lighting in there. You just got to turn on the lights. There you go.
I will.
There you go, man. Listen, when we get back, we're going to take your calls. Also, got to give some love to Russell Westbrook. Unbelievable performance against his former Los Angeles Clippers. That's next. Good Shepard, Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
When I wake up in the morning, love, and the sunlight hurts my eyes, and something without warning, love, bears heavy on my mind. Then I look at you, and the world's alright with me.
Back to the Good Shepherd.
Welcome back, everybody. David Shepard on the Infinity Sports Network. Great to be with you, however and wherever you may be listening from. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That is 888-710-4476. I want to get back to the busy phone lines momentarily. I do want to acknowledge Russell Westbrook because he was brilliant against his former Los Angeles Clippers team. I remember like it was yesterday. Nikola Jokic had a 60-point triple-double in the regular season. I think one of 3 in the history of the NBA. And they somehow lost that game. The reason they lost that game is because Russell Westbrook bricked a layup, a wide-open one at that, when they should have gone up by 3, and then fouls a three-point shooter. Some will have you believe that that ultimately led to the beginning of the end for Michael Malone in Denver. He was eventually fired. A lot of people felt like with David Adelman coming aboard, Russell Westbrook's minutes would shrink. Well, not on Saturday. He had 15 points off the bench. He had 8 rebounds off the bench. And he had the game-deciding play. You got to love what you are seeing from Russell Westbrook, not just with his energy, not just with his shot making, but you got to love what you are seeing in terms of his resilience. Because it would be very easy for any player of any magnitude to not feel the same type of way after so many people have been clamoring for him to either retire or get reduced minutes. But the guy continues to come. He continues to show up. And that's a talent in and of itself. Like this play he made, which ultimately created the game-sealing victory for the Denver Nuggets.
He's got the skill. They got to get a good look here. Down 3, 10.9 to go in overtime. Harden knocked out of bounds, and he last hit Harden. And guess what? The Clippers cannot challenge him.
And that, of course, is courtesy of ESPN. And this was a real back and forth. You know, the Nuggets at one time, they actually were trailing in this game by 15 points. James Harden did everything he could. He had 32 points, 11 assists, I believe. In fact, his floater got them to overtime. This is courtesy of the Clippers Radio Network.
Batum to Harden deep on the left side. Dribbles to the left hand. Left-handed floater off the front of the rim, and it falls in. Denver with a timeout. The Clippers go for the tie, and now they'll need to stop with 18.7. Wow.
You know, it's crazy to think that James Harden and Russell Westbrook, not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times, have been teammates with each other. That's how long they have been in the NBA for, and I'm counting Team USA for that matter. But the truth is, when you talk about James Harden, he is really changing his reputation and the narrative that he can't perform in the playoffs. And to be doing this in year 16 is remarkable. Here's the problem for the Clippers. Kawhi Leonard's got to stop turning the ball over. He can't have 7 turnovers in this game when the Nuggets as a team combine for 11. That's a problem. The other problem is this, and I know the Lakers get talked about a lot, but the Clippers, man, they finished the season scorching hot. They won 8 straight. They win 18 of their last 21. They were a different team when Kawhi Leonard came back from missing the first 34 games of the season due to injury. But Norman Powell, he was the key to this Clippers team against Denver this regular season, averaging 26 points per game. In this contest, just 12. That was the difference and why the Clippers could not prevail and ultimately hold on to this lead. And in addition to that, you cannot have 20 turnovers compared to a team's 11. And Nikola Jokic, to no shock and surprise and dismay at all, was just 1 rebound shy of a triple-double. Not only does he become the 3rd player in NBA history in the regular season to average a triple-double, of course joining his teammate Russell Westbrook and the great Oscar Robertson, but he's the first player in NBA history to lead or be in the top 3 of assists per game, rebounds per game, and points per game. So I am not surprised at all that Nikola Jokic, again, was just 1 rebound shy of a triple-double. And I got to give credit to Aaron Gordon. You know, he missed a lot of time this year. It's good to see him back in the fold, finishing with 25 points. And then Jamal Murray, not the greatest performance, but he did give you a 20-plus point outing. That's huge if you want to make noise in the playoffs if you're Denver, because you can't just go through a guy who I believe should be a 4-time regular season MVP. Congratulations to Denver. Congratulations to David Adelman, man. I know I was critical of this decision to fire Michael Malone with 3 games left in the regular season. I still am critical, but got to give credit where credit's due. You're 4-0. You've obviously had Jamal Murray for 3 of those games, but nonetheless, you're 4-0. You're 1-0 in the playoffs. You felt like this was the game the Clippers should have had. They blow it. Obviously, the series is far from over, but this was a must-win game, in my opinion, for Denver, because if they lose this game, you know the media is going to be slamming them for making the decision to oust Michael Malone for a first-time NBA head coach. In fact, someone who has not coached any level as a head coach for 14 years. Speaking of the first time, Liam, how good does it feel to actually be able to have lights on in there and feel like you're a human being and you're not going to fall asleep anytime?
I can see what I'm doing. I can see what buttons I'm pressing. It's beautiful.
So my fear when I was in that room, I had to have the lights on, because if I didn't, I would doze off, and that wouldn't be good, because you can't fall asleep in that room. You fall asleep in that room, we're screwed. And a lot of times when I would work with hosts, when I was producing back in the day, they weren't on site. They weren't like live in person in studio. They were remote. So with that, you have to be awake.
Totally different ballgame, yeah.
Yeah.
At least with you, you're here, I'm looking at you.
Right.
And you're like a shot of espresso. I mean, I can't fall asleep when I'm near you. It's just like the energy that you provide, Dave.
That's very,
telling you.
That's very kind of you. I'm going to put you on the spot for a second.
Of course.
Who's the most energetic sports personality we have in 2025? TV, radio, podcast. Who brings the most energy?
Energy?
Yeah.
I mean, Stephen A. Smith comes to mind. He's always just very energetic.
Yeah?
I don't want to say I agree with him or say that, anything else, but he's loud. I mean, you turn on First Take, 10:01. He's already screaming about something.
Yeah. He's figured out this game pretty well, hasn't he?
He's figured whatever he's doing. You don't need to agree with him about anything, but you have to respect what he's done.
100%. And the thing about Stephen A. is that there's not a harder worker in our business. Like, you talk to anyone that's close with him. I have his number. I've been in contact with him. Actually tried to get him to retweet me when I made a position about his being, the classy position in terms of how him and LeBron went back and forth. I was looking for like a requote that didn't really work out that way. But I will say, like, when you talk to anyone that's familiar with Stephen A. Smith, there's not a harder working person in our business. I mean, he goes, honestly, from like, sunrise to sunset, and he just goes. He never stops working. When I was producing at Sirius XM NBA Radio, and I host there now, but when I was producing at Sirius XM NBA Radio, and Liam, this was like 7-8 years ago, and this was when Stephen A. was still Stephen A., was doing 5 days a week First Take, was being an NBA insider, so you saw him on all the SportsCenter hits. You saw him, have his own show. He was listening to Rick Mahorn talk about the Pistons, and he would call up on a Saturday morning at 8 a.m.
Somebody who just lives and breathes it.
Yeah, I mean, he just happened to be listening. Now, I didn't even know he listens to Sirius XM NBA Radio, but that just goes to show you, in this business, if you want to be great at something, you always have to be consumed by it. Just like Russell Westbrook. He ignores the noise. Now, not always when it comes to kids saying his last name, but in terms of the media naysayers, he doesn't seem to let that affect him. It's why the Denver Nuggets are ultimately up in this series 1-0. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That is 888-710-4476. To me, folks, the biggest, most exciting moment in the NBA playoffs so far was, of course, this Clippers-Nuggets overtime thriller. And you saw, unfortunately, the Clippers not show up, besides James Harden, when it mattered most. Let's get back to the busy phone lines. Let's get to Gary in Massachusetts. Gary, always good to hear from you, my friend. Thank you for your patience. What do you have for us, sir?
A couple things. One, you were talking about teams through the decades that should have won lots of championships, because you're right, because way back when, to win 4 or 5 in a row, George Mike and stuff like that. I just want you to know, because you are younger than me, the Boston Bruins with Bobby Orr. In the 70s.
I don't remember Bobby Orr in the 70s because I wasn't alive in the 70s, but I obviously know he's one of the 3 greatest hockey players in the history of the sport.
Right. They won championships in 70 and 72. Now, there was a sports writer for named Russ Conway who wrote a book about Alan Eagleson, who was a sports writer for the North Andover, Massachusetts newspaper. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He brought Alan Eagleson, who stole all the money out of their fund, the retirement fund.
I've never heard of him.
I don't know if you know anything.
No.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm getting a little carried away. Going back to the Bruins.
Right.
The reason why the Bruins didn't win 3, 4, 5 cups in a row, it wasn't just because the Philadelphia, Montreal, and the Rangers, everybody was there. It was because of alcohol. They were a party team. All they did was drink like crazy.
Yeah, I'm not even going to pretend like I know that for sure, Gary. I don't know that. What I do know is, obviously, when we talk about the Bruins, and they won relatively recently. It was about 14, 15 years ago. But they did win in 70, to your point. They did win in 1972. When you talk about the 70s, you talk about the Canadians. They were dominant at the time. I mean, they won, I think, 4 or 6, if memory serves me correctly. And then I think the Maple Leafs got in there the year before in 67. My point is that, look, I'm not diminishing the championships or the Stanley Cups or the Super Bowl trophies of teams in yesteryear. But I do know, just by sheer numbers, it's harder to win a championship in 2025 than it was in the 60s and 70s for no other reason than there just happens to be significantly more teams. That's all.
Absolutely agree. One last point.
Sure.
And I know you're going to be with me on this. I'm sure you talked to your other sports guys about this. Here we go.
Let's hear it.
What do we do? Do we take the mound, make it 6 more inches back for the pitcher's rubber? What do we do to get more runs scored in baseball? And let me finish my point.
Yep.
I mean, how many teams? It's driving me crazy. This has been going on for over 5 years.
Right.
How many teams? They got a guy on first or second, and to manufacture a run, butt the guy over because there's so many 1-0, 2-1, and 3-2 games.
Wait, Gary, I'm sorry.
Doesn't it drive you crazy?
Gary, I'm sorry. Who's on first?
That's funny.
Thank you. So you appreciate that sense of humor, Gary. I appreciate you for that. You get that joke right away. Okay. So let me answer it like this: what are the Nationals and Rockies saying after that final was 12-11? What about the Yankees and Rays that were 10-8? What about another game in the Marlins and Phillies that was 11-10? There's plenty of scoring in baseball. They don't need to do anything to adjust or change it. They're just fine. In fact, I miss the old days. I miss the days when it was actually more difficult to steal a base and the bag wasn't the size of some New York City apartments. I miss the days in baseball when, I don't know, you didn't have a pitch clock and you just let the game play out the way it should. That's what I miss about baseball, because to Brad Pitt's point in the movie, Moneyball,
Moneyball.
How could you not be romantic about the game of baseball?
Oh, I love baseball. Are you kidding? I'm like an old man. I could just watch it and just sit there and vegetate. I don't care if I was a 20-year-old kid. I could vegetate. It's wonderful. And by the way, have you ever been to Fenway Park?
I have, yes.
What was your experience?
Oh, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. There's the seat that they talk about where someone got hit by like a home run and he wasn't paying attention. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay, fair enough. I figured you would know that. But no, Fenway's beautiful. And isn't it the oldest ballpark currently in Major League Baseball?
Pretty much, I would imagine so. But
you
one
have no
thing
idea,
is
do
this.
you?
Well, let's just say yeah. But let's just put it this way. When it comes
Gary, you're supposed to be
baseball,
my Boston sports correspondent. You're supposed to know these things. You're coming in hot with the Bruins not being able to go back to back to back because apparently they were drinking when everyone else was playing the sport. I'd never heard of that before, but I just happen to say, okay, maybe you're right. I don't know. Doesn't sound plausible, but I'll believe it anyway. And then I give you 2 layups when it comes to Boston sports, and you can't deliver the goods. How about them apples?
All right, close your mouth. You're attracting flies. Listen.
Okay.
Let wrap it up. That was a good one on my part.
That's not bad. Have you ever seen the movie Good Will Hunting?
What's that?
Have you ever seen the movie Good Will Hunting?
Good one thing?
Good Will Hunting. Have you ever seen that movie?
No, but I've seen many movies. Go.
No, it's just one of the all-time great movies. That's all. Finish.
It certainly is. Well, I'll give you one. I'll let it go at this. 1967, The Incident. You'll love it. It's the first movie about urban terrorism. You would love it. 1967 with Martin Sheen and Tony Musante and Ed McMahon.
Great actor. Love Martin Sheen. I think one of the finest series ever made in any television format is The West Wing. He was unbelievable as President Bartlett. Couldn't ask for a better television president, in my opinion, ever.
You watch The West Wing?
I love The West Wing.
Boy, are you a dweeb?
You get no argument from me, but I'm an interesting dweeb. You got to give me that, Gary.
You are.
Appreciate the phone call as always, buddy. You have a good rest of your weekend.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Always good to hear from Gary in Massachusetts. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That's 888-710-4476. Let's get to Alfonso in New York. Alfonso, appreciate your patience, man. How you doing this morning? What you got for us?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Doing well, thank you, Alfonso. What you got for us, sir?
Well, so I watched all the games today starting at 1 o'clock.
Sure.
At 11. And I could say one thing, because I kind of want to break down every matchup real quick. So, so for the Bucks Pacers, I watched the game. I watched that game entirely through blood and everything. And I could really see that the Bucks, they really need Dame in that series. They need Dame badly. They need him badly.
Yeah, they lost by 19, and it was a 24-point game going into the second half. So obviously,
nobody showed up.
Giannis did. Giannis had 36. Now he did have 1 assist. That's a problem, obviously.
That's what I'm getting to. Is nobody else but Giannis. Nobody but Giannis showed up, and he only had 1 assist. Kyle Kuzma went scoreless the whole entire game. I don't think they should have traded Chris Middleton.
I agree. I agree. They got too caught up with Chris Middleton rehabilitating and getting back into form. We all know when healthy.
I saw that trade. I called it a stupid trade because I said you're going to match up against the team because at the time the matchups were at the time I was looking at the time it was looking to be Knicks Bucks at the time. I'm a Knicks fan. So I'm really happy about the win today.
Sure.
So I said, okay, well, if you're going to play the Knicks, and let's say somebody's going to get injured, you're screwed because if Giannis was in the same situation Dame was in, they still would have probably lost. Either whoever else is injured.
Yeah, I mean, again, when you talk about Giannis going for 36, you can't have the other 4 Bucks starters combining for 14 points, and that's a starting lineup featuring Brook Lopez, who should never be held to fewer than double digits. Yeah.
And you lost to a team that Tyrese Halliburton only scored 10 points.
Now, he did have 12 assists, though, but yes. I mean, the MVP for them was Pascal Siakam. I mean, he continues to be so consistent for that Pacers team. And
Miles Turner.
no one ever really talks about him. And yeah, Miles Turner was great. 19 points, 4 blocks, huge, threes down the stretch. Pacers are a good team. I agree.
Second matchup, Clippers Nuggets.
Yeah.
You alluded to before. Kawhi Leonard. Come on, man.
Yep. Seven turnovers, way too much. What'd you think of Knicks Pistons?
I like the 21-0 run.
The fourth quarter. That was the game right there. Outscoring them, 21 straight points, and then ultimately outscoring them in the fourth quarter.
Because I was tweeting on Twitter, man. I was just like, I was getting really frustrated, but then Cameron Payne showed up.
Yeah, you got to love Jalen Brunson. Didn't have the most effective game from the field, but still finishes with 34 points. There's a reason why his nickname should be Playoff Jalen. And then you talk about the final game of the 4-game slate on Saturday. The entree was supposed to be Timberwolves Lakers. Unfortunately, the Lakers forgot to cooperate, and the Timberwolves blew them off Crypto.com Arena. We're up by 27 midway through the third quarter.
I don't know what was going on through the Lakers' mind. I think the Lakers were a little overconfident going into that game.
100%.
And they weren't expecting. Anthony Edwards balled out. Naz Reid played a great game. The Lakers, they started off hot, and then the Wolves kind of quiet down Crypto.com.
Yep, they were up 28-21 and then get outscored 38-20 in the second quarter. Alfonso, good talking shop with you, good recapping the NBA playoffs with you. You have a great rest of your Sunday morning, okay, my friend?
All right, thank you. You do the same. Happy Easter.
Thank you, Alfonso. Happy holidays to you as well. Number to get aboard is 887-10-4ISN. That is 888-710-4476. Bobby in Wisconsin, go ahead, man. I appreciate your patience. What you got for us, sir? Bobby, are you there?
Oh, okay. I didn't hear you. You cut out.
Hey, Bobby, go ahead, sir. What do you have for us?
Well, I talked to you a while back when you were still working with JR.
Yeah, that was a while ago, but I missed those days for sure.
Yeah, when you were talking about, you told me about Memphis and
yes,
and all of the kids that you came in contact with and stuff like that.
Got a good memory, Bobby.
Yeah, and so now I just want to try to put something in people's minds about when they talk about the teams today and the players versus the players of yesterday. And I say that if you put some of these superior athletes in the same kind of science and nutrition and all of those things. And I mean, it's like people talk about, well, Jesse Owens couldn't compete. Well, Jesse Owens ran on cinder track with leather shoes and no starting blocks.
Great point. It's a great
and
Bobby, I know you'll agree with this. I've always said about any all-time great athlete, and I'm not the first person to say this, if you take any dominant performer, whether it's Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, if you want to talk about football, if you take Walter Payton, if you take Jim Brown, if you take Johnny Unitas, you want to talk baseball, Willie, Hank, Frank, Babe, Ty, you take any all-time great athlete, they would be great in any era. Any era.
Yeah. And then the other thing about the era is that the biggest discrepancy has nothing to do so much with the players per se as much as it does the fact that segregation denied you the right to see who really was great.
Sure.
It's like you talk about Joe DiMaggio and Ted Williams.
Yes.
1941, one of the best years for two players in a single season.
56-game hitting streak, and then obviously Ted Williams batted .406, I believe.
Right. Yeah. And they both said when they faced Satchel Paige when he was pushing 40.
Right.
He was the best pitcher they ever faced.
Did he pitch in his late 50s?
He was pitching
in the majors.
He was pitching for. I grew up in Cleveland, and he was pitching for the Indians in the early 50s.
Right, which obviously
late
became
40s, early 50s.
Which obviously became the Guardians.
And then he pitched in the 60s when Charlie Finley brought him back, and they couldn't hit him.
Yeah, I just wanted to Google this just to make sure I was correct, Bobby. He pitched in the majors at 59 years old.
Right.
And he was a rookie at 42.
Right.
Yeah, it's. You talk about those individuals in the Negro leagues, and just how unbelievably gifted they were. Satchel comes to mind. Cool Papa Bell, Josh Gibson. Buck O'Neil, I believe, was part of that league
Buck
as well.
O'Neil. Buck Leonard was the bigger one.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's one of the what ifs in sports to me. Everyone always talks about Josh Gibson and how this guy, if he was given the same opportunity as George Herman Ruth, would have had 800 home runs if he played in Major League Baseball.
There's some secrets.
Yeah.
There are some secrets that people like Cool Papa Bell,
right,
and Buck O'Neil, some of the others, and they say, well, there's a secret that they don't tell about Babe Ruth that Ty Cobb had no problem mentioning it, and said, but they didn't give up his secret because they was glad he got there. Said, however, I listened to people like Monty Irvin, who played when Josh Gibson was still playing.
Sure.
And he said, I played against Hank. And he said, and I played with Willie.
Right.
And as great as they were, they couldn't touch Josh. So how can you dispute people like Monty Irvin, who was great as he was?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So what I look at is the people. I mean, we got you taught in Memphis, so you know the kind of people that were on the playgrounds that didn't get a chance to play because they didn't go to school.
Without question. I mean, so much of success in any walk of life has to do with access, and obviously, unfortunately, because of civil rights in this country, that were non-existent to those, unfortunately, that were minorities at the time. They didn't have the opportunities. Listen, Bobby, we could talk about this all day, man. You bring an excellent, excellent perspective to the show.
Just want you to ease up on the old timers because, the old timers, I mean, it's like I grew up watching Jim Brown practice and stuff.
Right. Hey,
they didn't have weights.
You and I agree with you. Well, let me tell you something. Jim Brown didn't need to lift weights. Okay, he was the Bo Jackson of his time.
I just say, imagine if he had.
All right, that's a great point, Bob. Hey, man, great to talk to you. Really, really great to talk to you, Bob. You have a good rest of your Sunday, sir.
Sorry you didn't get that spot, man.
Thank you, Bobby. I appreciate that, man. Good to hear from Bobby in Wisconsin. Yes, congratulations to Pat Boyle. He's going to do a really good job. And he worked hard to get to where he is. And again, wish him nothing but the best moving forward. And I will be rooting for him every step of the way. And I appreciate the kind words. And it's good to go back and forth with you, Bobby, about, Major League Baseball history. And not just when it comes to the majors, but when it comes to recognizing minorities who didn't get their shine because of the way laws were regulated and instituted in this particular country. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That is 888-710-4476. Speaking of which, the MLB did something really cool to honor Jackie Robinson this week. We will get to that on the other side. That's a great tease you gave me, Bobby. Thank you for that. This is The Good Shepherd on the Infinity Sports Network. We're coming right back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Let's get to Dale in Birmingham.
Hey, Shep. I just want to say you and JR, y'all the best, man.
This is The Good Shepherd, the Infinity Sports Network.
Welcome back, everybody. David Shepard, indeed, on the Infinity Sports Network. Great to be with you, however, and wherever you may be listening from. You know, a lot of the popular names when you think of the Negro Leagues, you think of Josh Gibson, you think of individuals like Satchel Paige, Cool Papa Bell, but others, Oscar Charleston, Buck Leonard, as we mentioned in the previous segment, Ray Dandridge, Leon Day. There's a plethora of individuals that never had the opportunity to play at the absolute zenith of the sport, despite the fact that they had the talent to be successful in that domain. And we understand and recognize the reason for why we have Willie Mays and Hank Aaron and Frank Robinson and Ernie Banks. And we can look back at some of the greatest baseball players to ever play the game, and some of the most popular ones at that. All of that was made possible because of the abuse and the racism that Jackie Robinson had to endure going all the way back to 1947. And you talk about Jackie Robinson, it has now been 78 years since this past Tuesday where he broke the color barrier, not just in Major League Baseball, but in North American professional sports. I always remember Bob Costas being interviewed about this, and there was some discussion where Jackie Robinson ranks among the all-time greats. And Bob used to always say, look, Was he the greatest player of all time? You can make an argument for many other guys. That's fair. But was there a more important baseball player than Jackie Robinson? And he goes, who? And that always strikes me as something that's so profound. And obviously, he's such an imperative member of the baseball community of Los Angeles Dodgers, specifically when he was playing for them. Obviously, they were Brooklyn at the time. But you talk about Shohei Ohtani and Mookie Betts and Roki Sasaki and how they honored Jackie Robinson with his statue when it was being honored at Center Field Plaza. Just unbelievable to have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar there, who recently turned 78 this past Wednesday, for him to be there and, you know, in a wheelchair, but celebrating the life and legacy of Jackie Robinson. You know how much Jackie impacted him, because Kareem, to some degree, went to UCLA because Jackie was a 4-star sport athlete there. And there's a reason why every single team in Major League Baseball since the retirement of Mariano Rivera has made it clear nobody can wear number 42 again. And that's a memory that no matter how long baseball exists is always going to be at the forefront of people's minds. And World Series manager Dave Roberts, he knows how important Jackie Robinson is.
I'd like to think all of us have had our moments where we realize that things are bigger than ourselves, right? And so when I got to wear 42 with the Dodgers, a little bit of me felt like I was Jackie Robinson on first base. And then I got to really appreciate, as I've gotten older and you get more wise and you experience the sacrifices that he made and how fortunate I was to play Major League Baseball.
So this tradition started back in 2009, and every single player wears the number 42. And obviously, Mo, a.k.a. Mariano Rivera, retired in 2013, so he could wear it every day until his career was finished. But it's something that baseball, I think, does such a good job of, is recognizing their history and really honoring pioneers like Jackie Robinson. And you can make an argument that no one had a bigger influence on North American professional sports than Jackie. And so for the Dodgers to come out on full display and have their stars, and you know how much Mookie Betts does with civil rights and representing, you know, those who are voiceless. Like, he does a great job of that, of being someone that cares so much about his platform. And then you talk about what the Dodgers do for Jackie and how they honor him. It's so much etched in their minds that he is very much with them to this day. And what you'd honestly like to see, Liam, can I put you on the spot for a second? You tell me no if you don't.
Of course, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know how many people would get this. We're talking 1947. So that's a long time ago at this point. 78 years. How many African-American managers are there currently in the sport today?
In Major League Baseball?
Yes.
We're talking Dave Roberts, so one.
Yes.
Is that it?
There's one more, and that is where the problem lies.
Right.
You had to seriously think about number 2. That's how little representation there is in terms of managers that are African American.
Not only managers, but as of the past 15 years or so, it's been a huge point that there are just not a lot of African American players as a whole.
That's another really good point. So the other, and I'll give you a hint. He's a manager for Los Angeles Angels. I don't know if that helps you at all. Took Texas to a World Series back in 2000.
Oh, okay, Ron Washington. Okay,
Bingo. As Oakland used to refer to him as Wash. Yes. Not in a negative way. It was more an affectionate nickname. That's it. That's the only African-American representation we have in Major League Baseball at a leadership position when it comes to the managerial position, which is arguably the coolest position in all of sports. What other head coach are they called? Skip, right?
Yeah.
So, like, that's a problem. That's a problem, Liam. Like, that's no bueno. That's just not good in 2025. So the reality is, for them to honor Jackie, if you really want to honor him, truly want to honor him, and this is my takeaway from all this, let's get some more representation in the sport. Not just from a player's perspective, but from a leadership perspective. That would be huge. And did you know Rachel Robinson, his widow, did you know she's still alive?
I did know, yes.
Is that amazing? She's 102.
Wow.
And she's still with it.
That's incredible.
She's still with it. She was with Rob Manfred, obviously the Major League Baseball commissioner, at the Jackie Robinson Museum in Brooklyn as part of the celebration. Just an unbelievable week all the way around, and it absolutely trumps anything else that took place in baseball in terms of on the field, because this is what makes this sport so special, is how they truly embody the spirit and the memory of Jackie Robinson every single April 15th. And I know the Yankees and Dodgers are rivals. Well, not really. The Dodgers kicked their ass in the World Series. But Aaron Boone, he certainly recognizes the significance of Jackie Robinson Day as well.
I think he's one of the most important figures in American history, and certainly of the last, 80 years now or so. Obviously, he was part of integrating our sport, but part of further integrating America and other sports. And I think it's so cool what we get to do today, and everyone wearing 42, bringing attention to it, and just honoring what's an amazing legacy.
We can talk about the NBA playoffs to the cows come home. We can certainly mention the Winnipeg Jets and the Colorado Avalanche in the NHL as victorious in the first day of the NHL playoffs. We can absolutely address Rory McIlroy winning his first Masters, 5th major overall, becoming the first European to win all 4 slams. There's so much good to talk about in terms of productivity and big-time games in sports. But the coolest thing that I witnessed this week in sports was Jackie Robinson Day on April 15th. I would hope baseball would take very seriously what Jackie meant and really honor that memory by making sure there is a lot more leadership in Major League Baseball that actually represents Jackie. That would be pretty cool. But nonetheless, this particular day on April 15th, Jackie Robinson Day, 78 years removed from him breaking the color barrier in the sport, to me is the highlight of all the sports this particular week. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That is 888-710-4476. Did you have that kind of memory and that kind of takeaway from Jackie Robinson Day? Does it mean as much to you as it does to someone like me when you talk about all the sports going on, and yet that particular event highlighted the best of sports? We'll get your opinion on that on the other side. There were certainly other NBA playoff games that we will get to, and in the form of Giannis Antetokounmpo, he needs help. We break that down next. So much more to do on the busy program on The Good Shepherd. You can always follow me at Shep On Air. If you can't get through our busy phone lines, if you can't communicate to us through our YouTube chat on the Infinity Sports Network page. Before we do anything else, let's get to our latest sports flash. Here is Kavitha Davidson.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
All right, Shep, sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Your small business keeps you on the go. Progressive Commercial Insurance keeps your policy within reach with our easy-to-use mobile app. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. NBA playoffs underway. Knicks take Game 1 against the Pistons 123-112 after a fourth quarter Detroit would like back. New York went on a 21-0 run and outscored the Pistons by 19 in the quarter. Jalen Brunson, 34 points, 8 assists. Karl Anthony Towns, 23 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 blocks, and 2 steals. And OG Anunoby was the star of the first half, with the other starter struggling. He finished with 23 points, 7 rebounds, 5 steals, and 2 blocks. Timberwolves outshoot the Lakers. They win 117-95. Minnesota hit a franchise playoff record 21 threes, including 6 by Naz Reid off the bench and 4 each by Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards.
Here come the Wolves, left to right. Statement edition, Shadow Grays, and pucks on a straight 3, and got it! From 4 feet beyond the arc, it's an 11-0 run to begin the second half. The Timberwolves now lead the Lakers by 22 points. Anthony Edwards joins the party.
Call courtesy of Timberwolves Radio Network. For LA, Luka Doncic had 37 points and 8 rebounds, and LeBron James was held to 19 points on 8 for 18 shooting. Nuggets beat the Clippers 112-110 in an overtime thriller. LA led by as many as 15, but Denver benefited from some clutch shooting and defense by Russell Westbrook down the stretch. He finished with 15 points, 8 rebounds off the bench. After the game, Clippers head coach Ty Lue spoke about what the team needs to do to even the series in Game 2.
Win. We expect to win. We're not happy because we went to overtime. They're a good team and we're a good team as well. We just got to do what we're supposed to do. Take care of the basketball, keep them off the glass, and then we'll be fine. But if you turn over 20 times against a team that is number 1 in offensive transition, then you're going to lose the game. And so we understand that. We just got to be better.
Sixers blew out the Bucks 117-98. Giannis Antetokounmpo had 36 points, but the 4 other Milwaukee starters were held to a combined 14 points. Bucks hoping to get Damian Lillard back at some point in this series. He's still out with blood clots. I'm Kavitha Davidson.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's the David Shepard loving every Sunday morning, and everybody loves David. He's a straight shooter, man. That's why so many people call in, and they love listening to what you have to say. You know, one of these people screams and yells like some of these other guys trying to be shock jocks out there, which that time is gone as far as I'm concerned. You're really good at what you do, David. That's why I call in every Sunday morning on the way home from work.
This is the Good Shepherd, the Infinity Sports Network.
Wait a second, Liam. You play that rejoin. I literally did a hockey segment knowing how proud Glenn from Ontario would be, and he doesn't call on this Sunday morning. So what are the odds of that? So much for me not being able to scream, Glenn.
We still have some time. Come on.
That's fair.
Don't shortchange him.
That's fair. We never shortchange Glenn. Never. Love Glenn. Glenn is a huge part of the show, as is our audience, by the way. We truly love being able to talk to everyone throughout the world, throughout North America, getting your sports opinions. I don't do a lot of guests, folks, because let's be honest, guests sometimes, not always, sometimes have their agendas. We all remember Aaron Rodgers on Pat McAfee. I won't bring that up, I promise. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Speaking of someone that's a big part of the show, Gilberto, ¿cómo estás?
Muy bien, David. ¿Cómo estás tú?
Muy bien, Gilberto. Listen,
No.
who's on top of the world?
I'm in a phone call.
Who's on top of the world?
Yeah? Listen, David.
Yeah.
Did you watch the game on Tuesday, Wednesday?
No, I did not. Gilberto, you got a lot of action and partying going on behind you, man. What are we missing here?
No. I'm working. Okay.
Gotcha. I got you,
man. Listen. Just for the record, I want to congratulate Alex. Okay, because his team did beat my team.
Okay.
Twice.
Okay.
So Arsenal goes on to the semifinals, and it should be pretty good. It should be pretty good by the end of April. Okay?
Fair enough.
And I wanted to touch on the subject that you mentioned about Jackie Robinson.
Yes, sir.
Tuesday was the second time that I had been fortunate to go to a game when they celebrate Jackie Robinson. And it was amazing. I'm at Petco Park, and everybody was wearing number 42 in blue. And there were some people that did not understand why they were doing that. So they were next to us, and I tried to explain to them, this is the reason they celebrated. Because what he did, it took a lot of valor, a lot of courage to do what he did back in the late 40s, 50s.
Oh, yeah.
And like you mentioned, he wasn't the greatest first baseman, the greatest player, but what he did was greater than baseball. And
really
for
well
that,
said.
Being there, everybody number 42. Discipline, Manny Machado, number 42, Manny Machado, number 42, Fernando Tatis.
Sure.
Just gives joy that they remember something that is so important in our society. And that's inclusion.
It's why you and JR get along so well. It's why you and I get along so well, because we're always trying to find common ground, no matter what background you may come from, no matter what walk of life you may be in. There's a lot more similarity and commonality than there is difference. And when you discuss Jackie Robinson, and I'll never forget this quote that Branch Rickey had when he brought him up. And Jackie said, Jackie was getting abused left and right, and he was being tormented physically, verbally, something that would never take place in the worst possible situation in 2025. And Jackie wouldn't be allowed to fight back. And he said, Branch, don't you want someone that does fight for what's right, that does have the courage to fight back? And then Branch Rickey famously said, I want you to have the courage not to fight back. Your fight is on the field and being the bigger person. That was not an easy thing to swallow for Jackie because he had a lot of pride, as you know, Gilberto. So for him to conduct himself the way he did, who knows what would have happened and how long it would have taken if that was not Jackie Robinson for players to finally get integrated into Major League Baseball.
And listening to Rick Monday about his teammates, Roy Campanella, and everybody that embraced him, it made it easier for him and focused on what the objective was. Yeah. And he did it great. And for that, for you to remember that, not many people talk about baseball because it's early, but this is very, very important that people understand how far we've come in any sport. You can see it in the NBA.
Couldn't agree more with you, Gilberto. Hey, you always bring the truth. You always bring reason. You always bring wisdom. I appreciate you, brother. You have a great rest of your weekend, and have fun at work, okay?
Oh, I always do, my friend.
I know you
Keep having a great show.
Thanks, Gilberto. God bless you, my friend. Number to get aboard, 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. When we get back, we're going to continue to take your calls. And speaking of breakthroughs, a different kind of breakthrough, but Rory McIlroy is a Masters champion? Yeah, he did it in typical Rory fashion. We get to that next. The Good Shepherd, Infinity Sports Network. We're coming right back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Reason that you had to care. The traffic is stuck, and you're not moving anywhere. You thought you found a friend to take you out of this place. Someone you can lend a hand in return for grace. It's a beautiful day.
Back to the Good Shepherd.
Welcome back, everybody. David Shepard on the Infinity Sports Network, hour number 3. Just want to remind everybody this portion of the show is brought to you by Ethos Life, the easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam, just a few health questions. Get your free quote at checkethos.com. Not available in all states. What was certainly available in all states was Rory McIlroy. Incredibly special this past Sunday. And I know that we're a little removed from that. But to me, we're coming up on a very interesting time in golf. Liam Flynn, when I say golf in the last 30 years, who's the first name that comes to mind?
Tiger.
Doesn't come close, right?
No.
There's no close second there. You can mention Phil, you can mention VJ, you can mention Ernie, Retief. Who am I leaving off in his generation? I'm trying to think, is there another? Patty Harrington certainly comes to mind. But there was no one close to Tiger when Tiger was at his peak. And we're talking obviously from about 2000 to 2008. Although he did win the PGA Championship in 99 over Rich Beam. So he won 12 majors within a span of like 7-8 years. So there's nothing close to that anymore. For a long time, we believed Rory McIlroy was that guy, because we saw him get out to that jump when he had 4 majors by 25 years old, winning 2 in the same season. And then he goes 11 years without winning a major. And you have, guys like Jordan Spieth come along, Brooks Koepka, Scotty Scheffler, Colin Morikawa, right? There were Bryson DeChambeau. And all these names I just mentioned to you weren't just major winners. Oh, Xander Schauffele as well, but multiple major winners. So there was so much parity in golf, which is a good thing too, but there was no larger-than-life figure the way we witnessed from Tiger, especially when he was in those red shirts on the final Sunday, or someone like the Golden Bear, Jack Nicklaus, when he was playing at an all-time high, not just winning 18 majors, but coming runner-up 19 times. Golf needs that guy to really move the needle. It's not going to be Tiger anymore. Tiger's body has betrayed him. He's still competitive, but he's a very old, 49 years old at this point. Not to say that he's old because he's 49, but just his body. It's not someone like Phil at 49 or Fred Couples at 49 or Tom Watson at 49. Tiger's body has just betrayed him. So for Rory to get back in the winner's circle winning in the fashion in which he did at the Masters, becoming just the 6th player ever to complete the Grand Slam. And obviously they're household names, right? Gene Sarazen, someone like a Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, Gary Player. Again, Rory becomes the first European to ever accomplish that. But you look at how he was able to do it. What a victory this was. The largest comeback ever at the Masters when he was down by 7 strokes in the first round. Actually, speaking of Fred Couples being 65 years old, Fred Couples was actually outplaying him for the first round of this tournament. And you saw the double bogeys on 13 and 15 in round number 1. You saw the double bogeys on 2 of the last holes there. And then you saw him start out round 4 by double bogeying, ultimately acquiescing that 2-shot lead over Bryson DeChambeau. But Rory stayed the course. And just like his career, golf is not exactly a simple game. And so you saw Rory, man, just pull this particular Masters out of a hat. He double bogeys 13 by hitting it into the creek. And then it was just an absolute roller coaster. And that's what you get when it comes to Rory McIlroy's career. But somehow he makes that clutch birdie at 17. Somehow, even though he should have won this in regulation, he wins it on the extra hole by an incredible wedge shot. Just when you think Rory's career is easy, he makes it complicated. And that's what makes him so watchable, because we see the gamut of emotions with Rory. We see the vacillation. We see the ups and downs. We see the highs and the lows. He's not winning these tournaments in runaway fashion. He's winning these tournaments by making shots that only the most gifted golfers of all time can make, and then he's completely sabotaging it by having double bogeys at the worst possible time. That's the fun and the joy of Rory McIlroy. But again, now the monkey's off the back. Now the pressure's off. Because what is something that has eluded him for his entire career, remember, turned pro almost 20 years ago now, 18 years to be exact, and had the lead on the back 9 in 2011 and then squanders it. And I'll never forget the very next tournament at the U.S. Open, he ends up winning his first major at 22 years old. It's the same thing then as it is now. You can't exactly say he's ever going to be a lock, but you can never rule him out either. And he was coming all so close, winning the Players, winning the Genesis, coming up in the top 10 in 8 of the last 12 majors. It was only a matter of time. And now that the one major that he has finally been able to check off, which has been eluding him for his entire career, now pressure's off. Now he's got 5, more than any other active player that can still contend for a major. No, I do not think Tiger and Phil can still do that. So Rory's only 35 years old now. And if you remember correctly, Phil Mickelson was winning in his 30s. He was winning in his 40s. He was even winning majors in his 50s. I'm not going to rule that out for Rory McIlroy because he's got that type of game, which is strictly based on talent, where it's not physical the way we saw from the likes of a Gary Player or a Tiger Woods. That's why I think Rory's game is going to actually age relatively well, and it's going to spell trouble for those that have 7, 8, 9, 10 majors, because they're going to have company sooner than later. Again, I felt like there was so much pressure on Rory to be that next guy. He had the expectations from Jack. There were the expectations from Tiger. This was going to be the next great star in golf. And you just saw everyone else come along but Rory. Now, Rory is back on top of the golfing world. And to watch him interact with his child and to see shades of what we saw in 2019 with Tiger Woods and his kids, you see Rory come out of the gate swinging like we haven't seen in quite some time, winning 4 majors by the age of 25. We saw the success as a boy, and then we witnessed the redemption of a man. And Rory McIlroy, you know he was quite emotional after getting his first green jacket, 5th major overall, a sign of many, many more wins to come. And I guarantee you this, there's not going to be an 11-year gap in the next major. He certainly spoke after Masters win number 1. Let's take a listen.
I've carried that burden since August 2014. It's been 11 years, it's nearly 11 years. I'm not just about winning my next major, but the career Grand Slam, trying to join a group of 5 players to do it. Watching a lot of my peers get green jackets in the process.
Just one time, I want one reporter to say, "Have you seen my Lucky Charms?" Just once. With that being said, congratulations to Rory McIlroy, man. This was a very special moment for him. Someone that has been through the gambit and back, someone who has heard all the naysayers, all the critics say he can't get back to that mountaintop. For him to be as emotionally charged as he was when he just flipped the putter over his shoulders and celebrated with such rejoice and such enthusiasm, to see him back in the winner's circle after more than a decade of trying. Credit to Rory McIlroy. I know his personal life hasn't exactly been the cleanest. He's certainly dealt with being a celebrity, but for him to win the Masters in the fashion in which he did in 2025, when, let's be honest, after the first round, we thought he was all but done. For him to finally get this in the way in which he did, shout out to someone who I believe is going to be the next golfer to reach double digits in terms of majors. I don't see it being Scheffler. It's obviously not going to be Dustin Johnson. I don't see it being Colin Morikawa. Jordan Spieth, I feel like he hasn't won in 20 years at this point. You talk about individuals like Xander Schauffele. You talk about, obviously, the aforementioned Scottie Scheffler, Brooks Koepka. Rory's the guy. He just had to get over that Masters hurdle. Mission accomplished. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That is 888-710-4476. Let's get to Brandon in Chicago. Brandon, good morning, man. How you doing? What you got for us, sir?
Good morning, Shep, my guy. Thanks for taking my call.
Of course, man, always.
Man, can you imagine if he didn't come through on that, though? Oh, my God, that would have been so devastating, man.
And Justin Rose was coming down the stretch, man. I mean, fortunately, Justin Rose wasn't able to make that par putt on the extra hole, on day 4. And I thought Justin was out of it because I know he had the first lead after day 1 and day 2, but then you just knew moving day was going to get the better of him, which it did. But for Justin to compete the way he did at 44, that was impressive. And then did you see at the end, Justin Rose's wife gave Rory the biggest hug? I thought that was as classy as it gets.
Yeah, I mean, it was just good for golf in general. I mean, what were the ratings for that?
I don't have the numbers in front of me. I tell you this much. It wasn't as much as when we saw Tiger win in 2019. That I will assure you. But nonetheless, I'm sure it was pretty high because there's nothing like the back 9 on Augusta Sunday.
Oh, for sure, man. Yeah. But, I wanted to call about the NBA and the playoffs. Obviously, tonight's game, Lakers and Timberwolves. And then if we got a second, just, it doesn't really matter, but the Bulls,
Very, very disappointing. Very disappointing for them to get ousted by the Heat. I felt like when Josh Giddey made that buzzer-beating 3/4 quarter of a length shot against the Lakers. You remember the game I'm talking about, Brandon?
Oh, of course.
I felt like there was something magical going on in the air in Chicago because you don't have Zach LaVine anymore. You don't have DeMar DeRozan. Lonzo Ball is a complete shell of himself. But there was just this energy they had with Kobe White, and it seemed like Billy Donovan was doing an excellent job. For them to lose at home to the Heat like they did, I did not see that coming. And I know the Heat are the first team ever to win 2 road games in the NBA play-in tournament. I do not feel for the life of me that was a game the Bulls should have lost because they easily could have had the 8 seed over Atlanta.
For sure, man. I went to that game, and just like Billy said, they didn't play to their identity, and I don't really see things ever changing. With Reinsdorf as the owner, we have the leading attendance, 20 years running in the NBA, and this is what we get.
Yeah, it's called the Michael Jordan effect.
Smoking the '90s Bulls.
Yeah, it's called the Michael Jordan effect. They're still feeding off that.
Yeah, it really sucks, man. But if Jokic gets ousted in the playoffs, maybe he'll consider coming over, and maybe we can start building a team that way. But like you said yesterday about Trae Young, Kobe's a smaller guard. You put a bigger guard on him, kind of shuts him down. And then with Giddey, he's not a really good defender either, and people kind of can exploit him that way. He does fill up the stat sheet, but he's not like a Josh Hart, a guy that'll do all the extra little things.
Exactly.
And play defense and hustle. He fills up the stat sheet, maybe doesn't get as many points, but I would consider him, a much better player than Giddey.
Yeah, I still can't believe Nikola Vucevic is still in Chicago, by the way.
Yeah, we should have got at least a second-round pick for him. He wants to compete for a title. but I don't really see that happening.
He ain't doing it in the Windy City, Brandon, as you know, man. But listen, man, you enjoy the beginning of the NBA playoffs. I'm sorry your Bulls aren't there, but you did win 6 titles in 8 years in the 90s when it seemed like no other team had a shot with Michael Jordan in his heyday. So you got that going for you.
Yeah, I just wish, things were better, man. It was just that the NBA was great. NBA is better when the Bulls are good.
Yeah, I
just
agree.
real quick with the Lakers, man. The refs tonight were really bad. I think when the Timberwolves came out, they were throwing the ball out of bounds, and I think that the Lakers kind of got relaxed a little bit and were like, oh, we can just coast through this. But then the tables turned a little bit, and they couldn't recover. I just think they need to get more physical, maybe foul a little bit more. They only fouled the Timberwolves twice in the first half. So, I mean, if it's going to be a playoff game, they got to test the refs a little bit with their physicality, and I think that's what JJ meant by that. And maybe things will change, and, you can slow down their rhythm, too, by doing that, too.
Brandon, this was excellent NBA analysis on your part, man. Like, that was really well said. You're 1,000% right in every single thing and every syllable you just uttered there. To your point, for the Lakers not to be physical in the opening game of their playoff round against the Minnesota Timberwolves, you are not by any means setting the tone for the rest of the series. And that's going to spell trouble, because what you don't want to do is give a young, hungry team more confidence. And that's exactly what they did for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I said this on a tweet, and I'll say it again, Brandon. You know the scariest thing for Los Angeles Lakers fans right about now?
To hope they're not going to hit 21 threes again. No. McDaniels isn't going to have 24 points, 25 points.
Just wait till Anthony Edwards goes off. That's going to be trouble for them, because they lost this game by 22 points, and Anthony Edwards had like a C- game by his standards. So,
but I'd rather have him, try and go to the hole, maybe foul him hard.
Right.
That way, you can kind of tire him out and maybe, not injure him, but, make it hard on him.
Yeah,
like
make him think twice about coming back. Yeah, make him think twice. Absolutely. We remember what happened in the Pistons with their Jordan rules back in the late 80s and early 90s. It worked until Michael Jordan realized, hey, maybe I should pass it to teammates instead of always trying to score 40 points per game. Brandon, great call from the Windy City, man. I appreciate you, brother. You have a good rest of your weekend. Enjoy the remaining first-round games of these playoffs, okay?
For sure. I mean, if LeBron takes it to a hole like Brunson, man, they'll be all right.
Yep, I would agree with that, Brandon. Good to hear from you in Chicago. Number to get aboard, 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. What's up, Beck? How we doing in Florida?
What's up? Kick cans on the golf and the Masters. Hey, Brooks Koepka, FSU alum. Happy Easter to everybody out there.
Thanks, Ben.
Something you said earlier about the coaches. You left out Dusty Baker. I mean, how was that not somebody that comes to mind? I mean, Ron Washington.
Wait a minute. Is Dusty? No. I'm talking about current African American managers. Dusty Baker's retired.
Ron Washington still in the league?
He's with the... Well, it shows you how much you pay attention to Major League Baseball. I know how much you're a fan of it now. Yes, he's the manager of the Los Angeles Angels. Dusty Baker retired, man. You know this.
Yeah, I know that. But
no,
again,
you didn't know that.
Yeah, cocaine, too. I mean, hey, it's 305. I mean, we're in that, too. I mean, but again, that's not... but speaking of Jackie, you've been to the home plate. I think that's a thing on the sidewalk in your neck of the woods, Ebbets Field, that's now an apartment complex?
No, I haven't been, but I would have loved to have been around to see the Polo Grounds and Ebbets Field and obviously the old Yankee Stadium. That would have been special to be up close and personal to all of that sports history for sure.
Yeah, Mantle and Maris and 61. We know the history of that. Somebody was talking about that. But guess what? Shout out to the 69ers and the guy Liam back on the decks. But let's go to playoffs. How about those Heat and the Hawks? What is this? 3 straight years that we had to play the Hawks and the play-in game to get in.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. But the thing is though, your reward is playing the number 1 seeded Cleveland Cavaliers, and the problem this year. And I know he's a diva, and I know he forces his way out of situations when he's not happy. But You don't have
JB?
You don't listen. You don't have Jimmy Butler, man. You can listen. Jimmy Butler will take a team and put him on his back and get them to the next round. I don't see that being the case for Tyler Hero or Bam Adebayo.
Well, we got some other characters on that team too. Their poop guy, Duncan Robinson. We won't talk about him.
Yeah,
But,
he's limited. He's limited. Oh, look at you talking hockey. What, you want to talk Jets or you want to talk, Colorado Avalanche? You tell me.
Are you serious? You want to go West Coast? I mean, how about the Panthers and the Lightning in the first round? I mean, let's go Florida. Well,
they haven't played yet, Beck. That's just a preview.
Right. That's right. But again, Oilers and Kings haven't played yet either. And guess what? OV broke the record, and you have the Oilers and the Kings playing in the first round.
Hey, Beck, you follow hockey a little bit, so stay with me on this. I do want to congratulate the Washington Capitals. We talk about the team that's won the President's Trophy and obviously the Winnipeg Jets, but the best record we know in the East is the Washington Capitals. Alexander Ovechkin finishes this record-breaking season with 897 goals. Beck, did you know that 22 of those goals came in the final 31 games, and he matches Gordie Howe with the most goals for anyone 39 years of age or older with 44. And keep in mind, he missed 17 games this year and 14 more than what he had last year in terms of goal scoring. He is the opposite of aging, and there were two guys, Beck, that had more goals scored than Ovechkin this year, ate the great, and that, of course, was Leon Draisaitl and William Nylander. Both individuals happen to be in their 20s, while Ovi is knocking on the door of his 40s. Beck, you're a hockey guy. Where do you rank this season for Ovechkin among the greatest accomplishments in hockey history, with how young he has looked for a guy who's about to be 40?
I'll tell you right now, Florida Panthers and Ovechkin and the Capitals is going to be the Eastern Conference Finals, and whatever team comes out of that game is going to win the Stanley Cup.
Really? So wait a minute. You have the Panthers and Capitals meeting in the Eastern Conference Finals, is what you're saying?
Dallas and Vegas too on the west
so
side.
You're completely ruling out the number 1 and number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference in the Maple Leafs and the Lightning. You're not giving them a
Glenn
shot.
and his Toronto, screw them. We already know.
Those are fighting words, Beck. Those are fighting words. You really,
bring them on. Let's go, Glenn. Where you at?
You're really that high? You're totally dismissing the Maple Leafs? Like, you really think the Panthers?
It's been what, the last 4 years around the Canada teams? Again, Canada's never going to win a finals. It was 32 years we're going on now.
Actually, it's going. 30. Actually, it's you're right. 32 years. 93 Montreal Canadiens. 100% right. I mean, listen. You're totally dismissing the Leafs and the Lightning, the only two other teams besides Washington.
President's Cup, throw them out. They're not even getting out past the first round.
They're beating the Blues, Beck. They're beating the St. Louis
Blues.
But
they're not going to be in the conference championship. So,
all right.
Dallas and Vegas.
We'll see what happens, man.
I'm telling you now, we got it set. So when we talk in the future,
Sounds good, Beck. Well, listen, buddy, I appreciate the sports insight. Thank you for your love of hockey, because I feel like every time I listen to you, I learn something more about that great sport and what it means to be a fan of this sport, especially when you come to April and May, because there's nothing quite like playoff hockey. So I appreciate you, brother. Always appreciate how you treat producers on Infinity Sports Network, man. And you have a good holiday, okay, Beck?
You too. Kick hands on the Corso end story. That's going to be kick hands. So.
Sounds good, Beck. Beck, we could do a whole show on your kick hands, because there's so many topics you want to get to. But unfortunately, we have a window for the amount of time we can take each caller. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That is 888-710-4476. Speaking of having a window, there are certain teams that may want to stay away from Travis Hunter. He had very interesting comments to make towards CBS Sports about his future and what he envisions his role being at the NFL level. What those comments were, we will play them for you on the other side. We will discuss the latest when it comes to drafting Travis Hunter and what that means for him on the field. This is The Good Shepherd on the Infinity Sports Network. Number again to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That is 888-710-4476. If you cannot get through the busy phone lines, you can always reach me at Shep on Air on any social media platform, and you can always hit us up on our YouTube chat. It is a show within the show, and I always see my guy Bobby in there. Great to see him. Great to see Terry. Great to see Chino. The usuals, Drunkle Sam. Josh is there. Good to see Josh back. Good to see Psych Manter, one of the coolest nicknames in all of the Infinity Sports Network. Good to see Joel. Again, it's always good to have the usuals there on the YouTube chat. Hi, Quinn. Shout out to you, man. Always interesting to see the conversation and how that goes on this chat compared to how it usually goes over the airwaves. You will not, for 1 second, be lost in that chat. You will not stop laughing either. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That is 888-710-4476. We get to Travis Hunter next. This is The Good Shepherd on the Infinity Sports Network. We're coming right back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
We got T-Mac waiting patiently in Florida.
Hey, Shep, what's going on, sir? Thank you so much for letting me talk with you tonight.
Yay.
I have thoroughly enjoyed it.
This is the Good Shepherd.
This is the Good Shepherd on the Infinity Sports Network. Hey, Liam Flynn, what happens on April 24th, 2025?
April 24th, 2025?
Yeah. What's taking place? Might matter to some folks. Might matter to those folks that like themselves some football. Might matter to those folks that want to see their team redeem themselves.
The NFL Draft.
There you go. Mel Kiper Jr. going to be working the phones. And Todd McShay, not at ESPN anymore, still going to be working those phones. And someone else who is going to be working those phones are the Cleveland Browns. Because they believe, as most of us do, that Cam Ward is going to be going to the Tennessee Titans. Will Levis not exactly working out there in his 2 years. And then the second overall pick is belonging to the Cleveland Browns. And Travis Hunter, who we all understand is a two-way stud, is likely going to be their pick. Now, we understand he's a headliner on offense and on defense. National honors with both sides of the football field. We know he's a Heisman Trophy winner. He happened to play 713 snaps on offense and 748 for the Colorado Buffaloes on defense in 2024 alone. He's the first player in 50 years in college football to have at least 500 receiving yards and 4 interceptions in a single season. There's a reason why he missed a few games over the last 2 years and still led the FBS in the amount of plays played. The better way to put that is basically the amount of snaps that he took is more than anyone else in college football the last 2 years, despite missing a few games. Now, here's the interesting thing about Travis Hunter. He doesn't want this journey of his to end in terms of being a two-way sensation. He wants it to continue at the NFL level. Is that going to be cause for concern for a team that wants to draft him as high as number 2, that obviously is going to want to have his best interest at heart and doesn't want him to risk getting hurt by playing both sides of the ball? But on the flip side, when you look at the Cleveland Browns, in the last 30 years, they have one playoff win to speak of. And that, of course, was Baker Mayfield, who the Browns decided to go with someone who preferred massages over football and thinking that would be the right replacement for Baker and an upgrade. It was not. With that being said, I admire Travis Hunter for putting this out there, that he indeed is going to essentially tell teams, don't draft me if you're not willing to play me on both sides of the football. This is a guy that's not looking to take the easy way out. He has the utmost confidence. He certainly is literally not afraid to ask for the ball on both sides of the field. We've just never seen someone play a frequent amount of snaps on both sides of the ball. Yeah, we saw Troy Brown do offense and defense. We even saw Travis Hunter's former college head coach, Deion Sanders, play both sides of the ball, but not on a consistent basis. So this is going to be unprecedented if this comes to fruition. But I don't doubt that someone this confident that would make this bold of a claim right before he gets drafted, I would never doubt someone like this. And clearly, we saw him win award after award after award on both sides of the field, ultimately culminating in the most prestigious award in college football, that being the Heisman Trophy. He certainly had this to say to CBS Sports about the matter this week.
I've been doing it my whole life. And I love being on the football field, and I feel like I can dominate on each side of the ball. So I really enjoy doing it.
So, Liam, you're telling me in my ear that we actually have the general manager of the Browns, Andrew Berry, that spoke about potentially picking him number 2. We all know he's going number 2. What is this courtesy of? I'm very curious.
This was courtesy of one of the Browns beat reporters just off of X.
All right, so here would be my guess. He's going to not say definitively that they're taking him. He is going to say all the features that comes with having Travis Hunter on a squad. He's going to certainly talk him up. He's going to know how to appropriately stroke his ego, but he's not going to give away his entire hand. Let's take a listen to the general manager of the Cleveland Browns about the potential number 2 pick of Travis Hunter.
Can't probably fully appreciate until you actually see Travis play live is his elite conditioning. He really never comes off the field, and it's unbelievable because there are more plays in a college game than there is a pro game. He barely pants like that, like that type of thing. So it's quite incredible.
You know what's crazy about this? I'm looking up to see okay, where did Andrew Berry play his college ball? So not trying to see if there's some kind of a connection between him and Travis Hunter. Just to make me sound smarter, I wasn't able to find that connection. Here's what I do know. You know he's younger than me. Is that crazy?
Huh.
This dude is a general manager in the NFL, and he's younger than me.
Now, how old is Mr. Berry?
See, that's how I know you're young. You're calling him Mr. Berry. Andrew Berry is 38 years old.
Wow, that's pretty young.
That's really young. He's younger than me. And he went to Harvard, by the way.
Okay.
I did not know that. I was trying to make a connection between him and Travis Hunter, maybe see if he played in the Pac-12 or see if he had a relationship with Deion Sanders. I'm thinking potentially, maybe he's in the age group of Deion Sanders. I knew he was young, but I was just looking just in case. I did not realize he was just 38 years old. Wow. That's pretty impressive. But then again, at any age, to give the contract he did to Deshaun Watson was one of the worst contracts ever given to a player at the NFL level.
Of all things he learned at Harvard, that was not one of them.
Well said. That was a good little 1-2 punch there.
Now I have 2 more clips of Andrew Berry, and I think this next
one.
How
much is this guy speaking this week?
He spoke a lot, and he spoke a lot about Travis Hunter.
Okay.
So, and I think you were saying he's not going to say exactly that they're going to get them, but I think he alluded to something in this next one.
Well, he's a savvy guy. That's a great tease, by the way. He's a savvy guy, so he's not going to give away the house, but he is going to make sure that you have a peek in the attic. Let's take a listen to those comments that pretty much indicate what he's going to do.
That being said, what he would attempt to do has not, been really done in our league. But we wouldn't necessarily put a cap or a governor in terms of what he could do. We would want to be smart in terms of how we started him out. I think I've mentioned before. We would see his first home as receiver and his second home, on the defense side of the ball.
So, look, when you talk about this NFL draft, okay, off the top of your head. And I don't think it's a debate. Who is going to be the most impactful player of that 2024 NFL draft class?
You mean this draft class?
No, the most recent one. So the one where 6 quarterbacks got drafted with the first 12 picks. I don't think it's a debate. I think Bo Nix had a really good year. We don't know what to make of J.J. McCarthy. Obviously, I thought, you had a lot of good quarterback play. Michael Penix Jr., I thought, did very nicely considering the hand he was dealt. But to me, who's the guy you believe is going to have the biggest impact from that 2024 NFL draft class? I don't think there's an argument to be made. Goes by Jaden Daniels, right? Now, with that being said, of this, because football is your sport, right?
Baseball, football, close second.
Got you. Okay. Out of the 2025 NFL draft class, Shedeur, Jackson, Cam, Travis, who do you believe is going to have the biggest impact at the NFL level? Because in about 2-3 days from now, this is the only thing that people are going to be talking about for the next 48, 72 hours.
I think if he's going to do what he says he's going to do, how is a guy who plays on both sides of the ball not going to be that guy?
Because eventually he's going to get hurt. And I don't wish that upon anyone. And I'm not saying that's definitive. I'm not saying that is concrete. But you just talk about, unless you're a quarterback and you have the ultimate protection that no other position has, you're pretty much going to get hurt at some point in your career. And I don't wish that on anyone, but I'm just,
it's a rough sport.
It's the roughest sport. it's the roughest sport by far. And you can still get hurt as a quarterback, but the least likely position to get hurt outside of the kicker and punter is the quarterback. But when you're risking that twofold as an offensive player and a defensive player, like, what do you expect is going to happen? He's going to shorten his career that way. If I'm advising him, I'm saying, look, that can be an option that you play two different sides of the ball. That's fine. But don't put that out there to where you're setting yourself up to where you're trying to do something that no one has done in recent memory in NFL history, and that is be a consistent player on both sides of the ball. He's only setting him up for failure, because even if he does that, he's never played it down in his NFL life. How does he know if he's even going to be effective at the next level? Let me tell you something. Trevor Lawrence was the biggest can't-miss guy coming out of Clemson. Can't miss him. He was going to be the next all-time great quarterback at the NFL level. He's not even a top 10 quarterback. So you never know what that transition is going to be like. So for him to think and be so convinced that at the next level he's going to be successful on both sides of the field just because he won the Heisman. You know a guy who won the Heisman that never even played in the NFL? Did you know that was true? There's a guy in my lifetime that won the Heisman Trophy that did not play a single snap in the NFL. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Charlie Ward. He became the backup point guard and ultimately the starting point guard for the New York Knicks. Still recovering from getting tossed to the stands by P.J. Brown in the playoffs. Now, I know you have no idea what I'm talking about, but that's okay. If you are Travis Hunter, I don't like this for him. I don't like that he's putting this out there, and it does accentuate his former head coach Deion Sanders, because Deion Sanders says the most confident things in the world. Now, the difference is Deion backed it up. Let's see Travis back it up at the NFL level. There have been too many can't-miss guys that come to this league and get exposed. I'm not saying that's going to happen to Travis, but I'm not ruling it out either. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That is 888-710-4476. We got the NFL draft coming to us in 4 days from now. Do you like these comments by Travis Hunter that he is so certain that he's going to be successful on both sides of the football field? And who do you believe out of this 2025 NFL draft class is ultimately going to have the biggest impact? We get to your calls next. We get to more of the NBA playoffs next as well. Something the Pacers should be mightily proud of. We'll explain that on the other side too. Before we do anything else right here on the Infinity Sports Network, let's get to our latest sports flash. Here is Kavitha Davidson.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, Shep, opening round of the NBA playoffs. Knicks with a big win over the Pistons, 123-112, in a game that saw 13 lead changes and 11 ties. Knicks finally took control in the fourth, outscoring the Pistons by 19 in the quarter. Detroit has now lost an NBA record 15 straight playoff games. Timberwolves take game one against the Lakers, 117-95. Jaden McDaniels, 25 points on 11 for 13 shooting. Naz Reid with 23 points and 5 rebounds off the bench for Minnesota. For LA, Luka Doncic with 37 points, 8 rebounds, but a poor shooting night for LeBron James. He finishes with 19 points on 8 for 18 shooting. After the game, LeBron said he expects Minnesota to continue to guard them hard.
You know, when you play in a Minnesota team, they're going to be physical. That's what they bring to the table. So, you know, maybe it took us one playoff game to now get a feel for it and know what the type of intensity, the type of physicality that's going to be brought to the game, but that's just the way they play. So we should be more than prepared for that on Tuesday night.
Nuggets beat the Clippers 112-110 in OT. Nuggets trailed by as many as 15 at one point. Nikola Jokic led Denver with 29 points, 9 rebounds, 12 assists. Aaron Gordon added 25 points.
And here comes Jokic the other way. Inbound goes over to Jamal Murray. Murray has it, throws it back over to Jokic, now in the paint, down low. It's Gordon, bobbled the pass, he got it back, lost it again, put it up, and in! Gordon sticking with it, bobbled it twice. Denver leads it by 3, 105-102.
Call courtesy of Nuggets Radio Network. Pacers rout the Bucks 117-98. Indiana shot 61% from the field in the first half and never looked back. Bucks led the league in three-point shooting during the regular season, but the Pacers held them to just 9 for 37 from beyond the arc. Stanley Cup playoff action, Avalanche beat the Stars 5-1 behind 2 goals and an assist from Nate McKinnon. And the Jets escape with a 5-3 win over the Blues thanks to 3 third-period goals. I'm Kavitha Davidson.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on X and like us on Facebook. Our handle is @INF Sportsnet on X and INF Sportsnet for Facebook.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Let's get to Chris, who's been patient in California.
New listener started listening a couple weeks back, and I have to say, I'm just really called in to say that you're a real kind-hearted cat. And the way that you show your guests and your callers all utmost respect, hey, you're top-notch in my book, and I just wanted to call and let you know that.
This is The Good Shepherd, the Infinity Sports Network.
Yes, it is. Welcome back, everybody. This is indeed The Good Shepherd. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. We certainly talked about the best prospects coming out of the 2025 NFL Draft. Travis Hunter making no doubt and bones about the fact that he wants to play on both sides of the football, making it abundantly clear to every team, if you don't want that for me, don't draft me. That is a luxury to have. Confidence, something Travis Hunter has in spades. Not surprising considering who he played for these past few years in Deion Sanders at Jackson State and eventually at Colorado. Again, number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That is 888-710-4476. Who do you have coming out of this draft class being the most impactful at the NFL level? We certainly know in 2024 that title belongs to Jaden Daniels. I don't see that getting changed anytime soon. Who do you see it being from 2025? Is it another quarterback? Maybe Jackson Dart? Maybe Shedeur Sanders? Potentially Cam Ward? Or is it someone that is going to do something unprecedented? And that is attempt to play both sides of the football on a consistent basis. Let's get to Alex in Miami. Always good to hear from this individual. Alex, what's up, my friend? What you got for us, sir?
What's up, Jeff? Happy Easter.
You too, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, when it comes to the draft, I think that Shedeur is going to drop. I also think that Travis Hunter is not really a safe pick in the fact that if he is going to want to play both sides all the time, he's not bionic and he's not going to last a long time.
I said the same thing. Like this is a sport that just unfortunately welcomes violence, and it's hard enough being a one-way football player. How many two-way football players are there? There aren't any. And so he's just tempting fate in terms of having his career cut short by doing so much on the field on both sides of the football, and that's why you don't see anyone else doing it.
No, exactly. And there's a lot of people that have the same tools he has probably and don't do it.
Correct.
Because of longevity. You know, this is not baseball. You know, where Ohtani can pitch and DH at the same time.
And that hasn't worked out so well for Ohtani, Alex, because you know how much he's been injured pitching.
Exactly. I was getting there. You got a little bit ahead of me, and Ohtani got hurt anyways. Long-term impact, look. On the short term, on the short, I think Cam Ward has a chance of having an impact in the long run, but the safest picks, to me, are Ashton Genty and Abdul Carter. I think those are the safest picks and the ones that are going to have an impact right away.
Yeah, so I think that obviously a guy who, to your point, in Ashton Genty probably should have won the Heisman. And then you talk about the defensive end that is the stud, Abdul Jabbar Carter, played for the Nittany Lions. They had their most successful season under James Franklin for a reason. He certainly had a lot to do with that. Those are two really good picks there, Alex.
Yeah, and in the long term, after he develops, then Cam Ward might have a longer lasting impact, but right away, people that are gonna make a difference right away, a big difference right away, are gonna be those two, and that to me, that's just the bottom line. it's going to be interesting to see what happens and the order that they go in.
Yeah.
You know, if Shedor's going to drop, if he's not going to drop, if somebody's going to trade down to get him, that's going to be interesting. We'll find out that day what goes on.
It's weird that he's not attending the actual ceremony. Like, he's not going to be there, where Travis Hunter's going to be there. Obviously, Cam Ward's going to be there. I found that rather interesting. I don't know if that's like payback to the media to not give them any content or give them any kind of rewards in terms of his speaking abilities. I think because he's obviously a well-spoken young man, and he's someone that is very charismatic, and he's got that Deion Sanders-like personality where you feel like he can walk in a room and be the most confident person in there. So that was interesting to me. The whole Shedeur Sanders thing, I don't remember a top prospect being this dissected and raked over the coals in recent times. I just feel like people are just trying to find fault with him because they're jealous of the attention he gets and the amount of NIL he had, in large part because he's the son of Deion Sanders, but he's also a hell of a quarterback, if we're being fair.
I would stay away from Shedeur, and there's two reasons. There's actually three reasons why. Number one, I think the only two things that are elite in him are the fact that he's accurate and his football IQ.
Sure.
And I also think that if you draft Shedeur, you're really drafting Shedeur 1.5 because you're drafting Shedeur, but you're drafting his dad's mouth.
Yeah, you got that right. But at least this time it's a sports dad that actually knows what the hell he's talking about, unlike, unfortunately, LeVar Ball. Alex, always a pleasure to go back and forth with you. Have a great rest of your weekend. We'll talk soon, okay, my friend?
Talk to you next week, sir.
Thank you, Alex. Always good to hear from Alex in Miami. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. We get to all your calls on the other side, and the Lakers should be sweating right now. We explain why next. Good Shepard and Infinity Sports Network. We're coming right back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Your love lifted me higher than I've ever been lifted before. So keep it up, quench my desire, and I'll be at your side forevermore. You know your love keep on lifting higher, higher and higher.
This is the Good Shepherd.
Yes, it is. Welcome back, everybody. Hour number 4 on the Infinity Sports Network with the Good Shepherd. Great to be with you every single Saturday and Sunday morning right here on the Infinity Sports Network. You could be checking us out on SiriusXM Channel 375. You could be getting us for free on the Odyssey app. You can be getting us on your local affiliate. You can also always be checking us out on our YouTube page on the Infinity Sports Network. It is the show behind the show where you see a lot of the same cast of characters, and you are welcome to be a part of that community anytime you so please. And you can actually see that I don't just have a face for radio. I'd like to think I have a face for television. At least I say that to myself. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That is 888-710-4476. I do want to get back to the phone lines momentarily, but I do want to also discuss the Lakers and, of course, what is taking place with the Timberwolves. This is a bad matchup all the way around. And in the NBA playoffs, it ain't about who's always the better team. It's about who capitalizes on the mismatches. And you look at the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're young. They're feisty. They're athletic. They're long. That is not a recipe for success if you are LA trying to defend them. Because in LA, you had a rim protector in Anthony Davis that could combat Jaden McDaniels from getting to the rim, that could stay in front and stop Naz Reid, that could halt Anthony Ant-Man Edwards to some degree. You traded him away. Now, obviously, we all know the better player is Luka Doncic, but in terms of having an impact on defense, there is nobody on the Lakers that can whatsoever stay with the Minnesota Timberwolves when they are thrashing and ultimately slashing to the basket. There's no one on the Lakers that can make the job of Anthony Edwards difficult when he has his eyes on the prize and he is looking to wind up and completely throw down a rim rocker. That's just the reality of this. And you saw early on Naz Reid and Jaden McDaniels outscore Luka and LeBron in the first half. No one saw that coming. And then you factor in that Naz Reid and Jaden McDaniels finished with more points than LeBron James in this game at Crypto.com Arena in Los Angeles. Come on, LeBron. You got to be better than that. Speaking of better than that, Anthony Edwards was somewhat decent in the first half with 8 points. He really turned it on in the third quarter with 9 points. The Timberwolves ultimately ride that wave to a 27-point third quarter lead, and there was no coming back at that point for LA. They were really settling way too much for one possession, on offense opportunities, and you saw the Lakers not having any momentum when it came to driving to the rim, nothing on the fast break. They were not playing off each other. They were just in isolation, trying to get back in this game with a three-point shot, and that never works, or at least it rarely works. Not a good showing from Rui Hachimura, not a good showing from Austin Reeves. Jackson Hayes was damn near invisible. He was about as active on that floor as I was, and I was on a completely different coast in America. So the fact of the matter is, the Lakers need the others to step up. It cannot just be Luka Doncic going for 37. LeBron has to do more, and the others that I just mentioned have to do a hell of a lot more. But you credit Minnesota for taking advantage of this mismatch. Again, there is no Laker that can slow down Anthony Edwards, and the playoffs is all about mismatches. It comes down to that. It's why the Minnesota Timberwolves were able to sweep the Phoenix Suns last year when Phoenix actually cared about playing in the postseason. It's why they were able to get the better of the Denver Nuggets in the Western Conference semifinals in 7 games in 2024, knocking off the reigning world defending champions, not because the Timberwolves were the better team, but the Nuggets had no answer for Anthony Edwards. They had no rim protector. DeAndre Jordan wasn't getting any rotation minutes. Nikola Jokic is a fine offensive player. In fact, the finest offensive player we have in the world. But he cannot stay in front of Anthony Edwards. So again, the Lakers, congratulations on getting that 3 seed. You just happen to be playing against the worst possible 6 seed. And we all knew Minnesota was going to come into this game with a little bit of a pep in their step. Not only finishing the regular season, winning 17 of their last 21 contests, so coming in scorching hot, pretty impressive and considering they were basically 500 by the time we got to mid-January, but you also factor in, when it comes to Minnesota, the chips that those guys have on their shoulders. Chris Finch being told that, he was a flash in the pan, then making the Western Conference Finals the year before, and ultimately he felt like he was getting overlooked as being a great coach in this league. Anthony Edwards, a person that many people had as the face of the NBA, there was some regression talk about Anthony Edwards. He wanted to make sure those people, no matter who they were, whether it was the highest office in the land or just Joe Schmo, that they put some respect on his name. And then you got to anticipate that Julius Randle is absolutely loving an opportunity to be healthy and on the floor in the NBA playoffs. Then obviously Dante DiVincenzo, he's pissed that he got traded from the New York Knicks. So they're playing with fire. They're playing with vigor, and you can see the chip on their shoulder. You can understand and really grasp why they are playing with so much motivation right now, where it seems like the Lakers, they were very content and happy to be a 3 seed, get to 50 wins under first-year head coach J.J. Redick, but the playoffs is a significantly different story. And I understand that LeBron James in typical fill-out, game number ones, that's his identity, but this is not the time to be filling out this game when Minnesota is young and hungry. There's a reason why the Lakers end up losing by 22 points, and it is inexcusable for a gifted player like LeBron James to ultimately not just finish with 19 points, but get tripled up in terms of assists by Anthony Ant-Man Edwards. And the reality is, LeBron James, he understands that they got out to a hot start. They got up to a 28-21 advantage in the first quarter, but then the Timberwolves absolutely stormed back, outscoring the purple and gold 38-20, ultimately getting up by 27 points in the third quarter. So with that being said, LeBron, how were the T-Wolves able to not just get a lead, but ultimately build on it?
Offensive rebounds, giving up open shots to lasers, not being in the right position. So it was a lot of factors that allowed them to build that big lead up to 27.
So, J.J. Redick, how you feeling after this game?
We were mentally ready. I thought our spirit was right. I thought even when they made runs, our huddles were great. The communication was great. I'm not sure physically we were ready.
Okay, let me just save the audience some time here, and let me just educate J.J. Redick on how actually intelligent audiences are that consume talk radio. We're not stupid. You weren't ready in any sense of the word. You were down 27 points at your home arena in the opening game of the playoffs, in which you have had the good fortune of resting for a week. Come on, JJ. You got to do better than this. And I understand it's your first time as a head coach in the NBA playoffs. I get the fact that some people, not myself, but some people believe that you are the rightful heir apparent to Pat Riley with the purple and gold in terms of being youthful, good looking, charismatic, and successful. You may have the first three. You don't have the fourth. And I still believe to this day, and I understand people are going to question his rotations and question his offensive and defensive philosophy, but I'll tell you this much. Darvin Ham made it to a Western Conference Finals in his first year. I don't know if the Lakers even win a game in this particular postseason series with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, I'm not going to be surprised if they do, but I certainly don't think they're winning this series. They're in a lot of trouble. They didn't just get beat by the Timberwolves. They got shellacked. They got destroyed. They got completely raked over the coals. They got annihilated. They got embarrassed. And LeBron James, I'm sorry, but 19 points, 3 assists, what is this, the preseason? That's the best you can do in what potentially could be your final postseason series of your career? I understand Luka Doncic went off for 37 points. But if you are the Lakers, you cannot, as a bench, allow Naz Reid to outscore you single-handedly 17-6. You cannot just have 3 threes for the entire game when Naz Reid is 6 of 9. That's a big man. Lakers have a lot to make up for in terms of the ineptitude from game number 1. I just don't see this being a matchup that is any bit favorable for them whatsoever because they just don't have an answer for Minnesota's youth. They don't have an answer for their athleticism and their length. And so to me, even though the schedulers are doing the Lakers a solid, by allowing them to have 3 days off, I still believe it's Minnesota that is going to prevail in this particular series. And a guy who you don't want to piss off, and I hope the Lakers know this by now, is Anthony Ant-Man Edwards. Because he's been hearing throughout the past few days, the Lakers are going to run away with this series. Shout out to Lee Corso. Not so fast.
They still got the Lakers. The Lakers supposed to win. That's just how it's supposed to go. We're not supposed to be here, so we're just going to compete to the best of our ability.
You got to love Anthony Ant-Man Edwards. He's got confidence that radiates off him like he's 35 years old. We understand he is still just 23 years old, the third youngest ever in NBA history to amass 9,000 career points. The only other two younger guys than Anthony Edwards to accomplish that, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, you might have heard of them. But the one thing you can say about all three is they love the bright lights. They love the big moment. They love the big market. Not that Minneapolis is a small one, but it ain't Tinseltown. And you know Anthony Ant-Man Edwards had no problem bringing his game to the second largest market in the country, that being L.A.
It's easy. It's easy for me, man. I've played in Denver, man. Denver is a tough place to play in on the road. So, I mean, it was nothing.
Yeah, that's the kind of confidence you have from Anthony Ant-Man Edwards. I don't know how many people saw that clip go viral, but he's talking to former President Barack Obama. And Barack Obama's making a joke, and he's keeping it lighthearted. And he goes, you're some guy. And Ant-Man goes, let's not get this one twisted. I ain't some guy. I'm Anthony Edwards, man. I'm somebody. I matter. I'm a problem. And Obama was shocked. And so he looks over at LeBron, KD, and he waves them over. He goes, you hear what this young man just said to me? And he goes, well, you got to know I'm a problem. And, Kevin Durant's like, all right, that's fair. So you got to love the bravado and the enthusiasm and the energy and ultimately the confidence from Anthony Edwards, man. They feed off of him. It's just a bad matchup for LA. It's that simple. And I do not see the Lakers winning around this particular postseason. And I hope for once and for all we can pump the brakes on J.J. Redick being the next Pat Riley. That's what you get, Purple and Gold, for hiring someone with the head coaching ability of someone less than David Shepard. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That is 888-710-4476. That is not exaggeration, by the way. J.J. Redick was coaching, I believe, his son's 6th grade basketball team. I have 6 years of high school coaching experience under my belt. And I actually know what it's like to play for a city championship while being a coach in high school. What can you say about J.J. Redick's coaching experience prior to 2024, 2025? Nada. Again, number to get aboard, 887-10-4ISN. That is 887-10-4476. Do you also anticipate the Lakers being in as much trouble as I do, or do you just see this potentially being one game and every single game has a different level of quality and every game shifts and momentum does not carry over and I'm being a prisoner of the moment? I still contend the Lakers are in a whole lot of trouble, given how flat they were in game number 1, knowing how important it is to not give a youthful, vibrant Minnesota team confidence like that for the rest of the series. Let's get to the busy phone lines. Let's get to LaPraine in Cleveland. LaPraine, always good to hear from you, man. How you doing?
Hey, good Shep. You know, every time I wake up, I've been watching basketball all day, but I have to wake up, you know, by me being blind, you brighten my day, man, because you polish, you got a lot of charisma. I like the way you are, man, and you're not cocky, man, and you give everybody a chance to talk. And I really appreciate the way that you are at your age, man. You my son age, and I got a lot of respect for you.
Well, I really appreciate the kind words in the LaPraine. Before you say anything else, man, it's a highlight for you to be able to speak to me, and I echo that same sentiment right back to you. It is a highlight for me to be able to go back and forth with you, so I appreciate you for that, sir.
Yes, sir. Hey, good Shep.
Yes, sir.
I'm with you with Travis Hunter. I want him as the number 2 pick for us because he's a playmaker, and we need a playmaker. You understand what I'm saying?
You need something when you haven't won more than one playoff game in 30 years. I agree with that.
Right. And we're a little dysfunctional organization-wise, but we're trying to get it together because this new stadium, we're going to need him for this new stadium when we built it. It's going to be beautiful, good Shep. And we need him to be our playmaker, but we don't need him playing both ways, Shep, because, see, I don't want his career to end early. He's a young kid. He's a little cocky right now. Deion need to sit him down and tell him, you're not ready for both ways. The game is real fast in the NFL, and he was among high school and JV players in that division he was in at times. It wasn't no big SEC or Big Ten. So you got to calm down, Travis Hunter, play your game, and I just want him to play one way, Chef, because I think that would be better for him to play one way.
That's a great point that you bring up when you talk about being a two-way player. Because, yes, I'm not trying to, poo-poo at all what we saw in the Big 12, okay?
Right.
We understand how viable that conference is. But let's also be honest about what Travis Hunter was as a two-way player. Who was the best team from the Big 12, and they made no noise when it came to actually competing for a national championship? That was Arizona State. If you look at the Colorado Buffaloes, they did lose 4 games overall with Travis Hunter as a two-way player. Obviously, you're not going against the top-notch teams in college football. The SEC, we know the teams that come to mind, and obviously the Big Ten with Penn State, Ohio State, and obviously Michigan. Even though Michigan didn't make the college football playoff this year, we saw what they did to Ohio State. They were the only team to actually beat Ohio State in 2024.
Yes,
and Indiana's another team out of the Big Ten that I thought was really good. You talk about
they was overrated, a little overrated.
They were, but to your point, he did it in the Big 12. He didn't do it in the SEC. He didn't do it in the Big 10. Those to me are the creme de la creme in terms of the best conferences in college football. And he didn't even do it at that level.
Right, exactly. And, Shep, I want to tell you this. I'm a big Lakers fan.
Yes.
And you're a little hard on them. But, hey, look here. I remember one time when Tyrone Lue and them played the Philadelphia 76ers.
I know you're going with this.
Allen Iverson went in there and bombed them up in the first game, and they went back and beat them 4-2.
Okay, here's the difference, though. Here's the difference, though, LaPraine. Stay with me on this, okay? You're talking about Game 1 of the 2001 NBA Finals. That game went to overtime. So while the Lakers did lose, it was anyone's game. I believe the 76ers, if memory serves me correctly, only won by 1 possession, and Allen Iverson went for 48 points. Was there any single Timberwolf that had any kind of performance remotely resembling what Allen Iverson did to them 24 years ago?
No.
I
take that back. You're right about. Hey, Shep, you do your homework to be your age, man.
Thank you,
and hey, good Shep. And another thing, root for the Cavaliers tomorrow because
I will. By the way,
I think we're gonna go all the way to the finals. But good Shep, I'm hoping and I'm betting on the Cavs, but that Boston lineup is tough, man, and it's going to be a tough go round.
Yes.
And like I say, good Shep, It's always a pleasure to talk
Likewise.
to you.
Likewise.
And go Cavs and Cleveland.
Cleveland, this is for you.
This is for you.
I love it. LaFrane, pleasure, brother,
All right,
as
good
always.
job.
Be blessed, man, and stay blessed.
Happy
LaFrane.
Easter.
Happy Easter to you too, LaFrane. Great to hear from my man in Cleveland. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That is 888-710-4476. You know, that almost beat It's impossible. Nothing's impossible. My mama. Kevin Garnett, 2008. Gotta love that post-game celebration on the floor. Let's get to Mike in South Carolina. Mike, you signed up for like a parade. You didn't even know that. How you doing, brother? You good?
Yeah, I'm good, Shep. And I had a nice chat with Liam. Small world, Long Island.
Liam, you
grew up in Limbrook.
You're getting a lot of love on the program this morning, man. How do you like that?
Well, we realized that Mike and I are basically neighbors, or we were neighbors.
Well, Mike's a New Yorker.
Yeah.
He's retired in South Carolina, but
Right.
he's originally from where we are. So that's why you still hear the love the New York accent of Mike, even though he's from South Carolina, obviously. Yeah, Mike, I'm impressed with Liam, man. 20 years old. I wasn't doing this at 20.
Yeah, you were saying. Yeah, and I was saying, Limbrook, my mother, rest her soul, she passed at 90. She grew up in Limbrook, youngest of 10.
Wow.
I grew up the next town.
Youngest of 10?
Yeah, the youngest of 10. Going on 3 years, Mom. Will October, it'll be 3 years she passed away. She was 90 when she passed, yeah.
God bless your mom.
Yep.
You got good genes, Mike.
Well, I always appreciate good words from good people, Shep. And you got to look at the last caller, man. He's giving you accolades left and right, and that's kudos from me to you also.
Well, you don't know this, but LaPrane's actually my agent, just to set the record straight.
Well, okay. I'm a longtime Mets fan, Jet fan, classic games I went to. I'm watching the Knickerbockers last night.
Yeah.
Okay? And, it's going to be tough. And the Celtics, tough to beat. Cleveland, tough to beat. And you know what? In my lifetime, I don't think it'll ever happen again, Shep. The magical year of 69. The Mets, I was at the last game of the 69 series. The Knickerbockers and the New York Jets.
Right.
The magical year of 69. And you know what? I got to give a shout-out to Billy the Kid Donovan. He went to my high school, St. Agnes, the Stags, like you were at Fairfield. And I used to throw him infield, outfield practice, batting practice, hit him with the fungo bat. And he's going to the Hall of Fame, and he's with the Bulls, obviously.
Yep.
And every time I see his name on his signature on the court with the Gators, I laugh because, he followed Rick Pitino. I saw him in high school. And you know what?
Hey, Mike, quick question for you. Is there a horse race going on right behind you? Is that the hoofs on the dirt? Is that the sound we're hearing?
No, I got my windows open in my car. I don't know what that was. It could be... It
Sounds
could be a Clydesdale somewhere.
There you go. Listen, sign me up
But-
for that commercial anytime, as long as it's not overdone on the Super Bowl day. But that's another story for a different day. Mike, yes, to your point, Billy Donovan, one of the finest coaches, and a real humble guy, by the way. Unlike his predecessor and mentor, Rick Pitino. And I know you love Pitino, but there's a little bit too much cockiness to Pitino at times. You never see that from Billy the Kid.
Never. And he followed him to, Providence. And his first Division I coaching
Kentucky
was at Marshall.
As a head coach, correct. You're 100%
yeah.
right about that. But he was with Pitino in his early days at Kentucky as an assistant, and he followed Pitino obviously to the NBA. And you teased me up for my next segment, Mike, because we are going to talk about those New York Knicks. It's going to be a long road to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, but I certainly do not see the Pistons standing in their way of getting to at least the Eastern Conference semifinals. Mike, you be well. Say it again?
No, I was going to say, Shep, always a pleasure. You got
Likewise.
the mojo on the radio, and I've listened to them all. And
Mike.
you're a wealth of knowledge.
Thank
Shep.
you, brother.
And
I appreciate
happy
that.
Easter. Yeah.
You too,
no
man.
problem.
Thanks, Mike. You have a good Easter as well, and always appreciate the kind words. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That is 888-710-4476. When we get back, we'll continue to take your calls on everything NBA and NHL playoffs. We got to give some love to Jalen Brunson and Tom Thibodeau. We'll explain why on the other side. This is The Good Shepherd on the Infinity Sports Network. You can always follow me at Shep On Air on any social media platform. You can always get us on YouTube for free. We stream the show every single Saturday, Sunday morning, or whenever I host during the week. And it's good to see Daly with us. Welcome, Daly. Good to have you in the 5 o'clock hour, man. I know that You add a lot to that chat, man. You always do. So we appreciate you daily, always, man. Appreciate you too, Bobby. There's so many more I can think of in that chat that do such a wonderful job in terms of contributing to the show, giving their 2 cents. It's really a chat that is worthwhile, and I love having it as part of the show. This is The Good Shepherd on the Infinity Sports Network. We're coming right back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, man. Start the show. Truck driver here.
This is the Good Shepherd, the Infinity Sports Network.
Good song. Little good classic rock right here. Okay.
The greatest.
Love it.
Steely frickin' Dan.
You like classic rock?
This is Steely Dan is like miles above everybody else. But yes, I like the 70s.
Look at
as
you.
a whole.
So like, are we talking? Are you Stones, Beatles, Beach Boys? Who's your jam?
So Steely Dan.
Clapton.
I like Clapton.
Okay.
I like Derek and the Dominoes.
Yeah.
I just saw the Brothers at the Garden, so like the Allman Brothers.
Okay.
Sort of. I don't know, whatever you want to call it, zombie band that they have now. But yeah, I mean, this is my jam.
That's really good, man. Good music selection out of you, Liam. Speaking of good selections, you had to love what you saw from the Knicks in their selection and how they faced Detroit. First of all, kudos for Detroit for even being in a position where they're competing in the postseason. Okay, let me just get that out there. 14 wins last year. 14, and obviously you put in a new coach in JV Bickerstaff. They win 44 the next year and bypass the play-in to be the 6th seed. So Detroit is already overachieving, and you have a great combination and mix of young talent. We all know Cade Cunningham, Jalen Duren, and then you have the veterans, Malik Beasley, Tobias Harris, and of course Tim Hardaway Jr. Those 3 guys I just mentioned in those veterans, 211 combined playoff appearances. All 5 of them were really good on Saturday. It was the Pistons who were actually leading this game heading into the 4th. What made the difference was Jalen Brunson's 34 points and that 21-0 run in the 4th quarter. Oh, Campaign off the bench was excellent as well. This is a Knicks team that continues to be successful, and you can't say that about too many Knicks teams in recent years. In this market in New York, a lot of times you get caught up in the media backlash and the negativity that comes with just working in New York. There's a lot of unfortunate criticism and slander that comes your way. And it's really hard to fathom for me why Tom Thibodeau continues to be in the crosshairs of so many people. You realize what he's done for the Knicks this year? They have now won back-to-back 50-win seasons, and that's the first time they've done that in more than 30 years, and he still gets mentioned as being on the hot seat. It's unbelievable to me. It's inconceivable. It's confounding. What I'm not confounded about is the Knicks' ability to pull through, at least in the first round of the NBA playoffs. But in fairness to them, if they had Julius Randle last year healthy, if they had Josh Hart healthy, if Jalen Brunson was healthy, if OG Anunoby was healthy, you would have seen the Knicks get to the Eastern Conference Finals over the Indiana Pacers. But they take care of business against the Pistons. Obviously, Jalen Brunson, not necessarily his most proficient shooting performance, but he does finish with 34. Let's start putting playoff Jalen in front of his name, because this is an individual that averaged 36 points per game against the 76ers in their first round series last year, put up 30 points per game against the Pacers in the Eastern Conference semifinals, despite being hurt for most of that series. And he picked up right where he left off. And then I got to give Karl Anthony Towns a lot of credit, man. He started slow, but he wasn't in foul trouble. He was the aggressor. He gave you 11 boards. He had 23 points. OG Anunoby, great to see him healthy for the Knicks. He had 23 points as well. The Knicks should feel awfully good about their chances in this series. You like Detroit's competitive nature, but it's unfortunate being a Detroit sports fan, not just because the Lions can't make a Super Bowl if their life depended on it, but you now realize Detroit has the longest active losing streak in the postseason. They are now 0-15 in their last 4 postseasons. It's pretty bad. when you consider the last postseason win they had was 2008. At that point, it was so freaking long ago that the last title for the Celtics was 1986. That's how long it has been since Detroit has a postseason victory to speak of. I really hope for their sake they get at least one in this series. You got to like their chances because you did see Cade Cunningham show up. You did see Tobias Harris finish with 25, Malik Beasley with 20 off the bench. Now, I'd like to see Cade score a little bit more because you know his potential is triple-double watch anytime he suits up. So you expect Cade to bounce back in Game 2. You also expect Jalen Brunson to be there for the Knicks the way he always is every single postseason, so long as he's healthy. And you know Jalen Brunson, the captain, spoke after the Knicks' first postseason win of 2025.
I mean, obviously we didn't end the third quarter the way we wanted to, but there's never a doubt that we're going to just lay down and not fight. You know, we got to find a way to figure things out and just keep battling. And, I mean, it turned rather quickly. It was a quick turnaround, and just happy with the way we played that fourth.
So that's an enthusiastic Nick press conference. You don't really hear enthusiastic and Tom Thibodeau in the same sentence, but he did with the game. Let's give credit where credit is due. He's done a wonderful coaching job for the, Big Apple for sure. I do not believe for 1 second he should be put on the hot seat. He certainly spoke after the win as well.
He had timely baskets, big baskets. I thought Cam gave us a huge lift in the fourth quarter there. I thought our offense was really good in the fourth, and our defense was really good, and that's what we need. We have to do it for 48 minutes.
Always the infectious, enthusiastic Tom Thibodeau, obviously referring to campaign and his really impressive play off the bench. Speaking of impressive play, you got to love what you're getting in that other series between the Bucks and the Pacers. Pascal Siakam continues to be an assassin against Milwaukee, finishing with a very cool 25 points. You'd like to see Tyrese Halliburton score a little bit more than just 10 points, but he does have 12 assists to go with it. And then you talk about the veteran, Miles Turner, 19 points, some huge threes late in this game to go along with 4 blocks. He was obviously great for Indiana. And if you're Milwaukee, you have to do better than just Giannis having 36 points and the rest of the Bucks starters combining for 14. That is not a misquote. That is not misrepresenting the data. That is not me misreading the information. You heard me correctly. Giannis went for 36. The rest of the 4 Bucks starters went for a combined 14 points. That is absolutely unacceptable, especially when you have a 7'1" Brook Lopez who can still play at a very high level. And you credit the Pacers because they were very intentional about allowing Giannis to score and not allowing Giannis to get it done as a facilitator. And anyone who's followed the NBA, specifically the Bucks, knows Giannis averaged a triple-double in the month of April. And it is not a coincidence that the Bucks happen to go 8-0 in the month of April. They are at their best when Giannis is not just going downhill and scoring with ease, but when he is setting up others around him. So you got to love what you saw from Indiana in this first game, having their first home court advantage in any playoff series in over a decade. So good for them. You got to be happy for a guy like Rick Carlisle. Obviously, you're happy for Tyrese Halliburton, especially when he's actually sticking to one voice in one single quote that he gives and not going in 3 different directions. And that's an inside joke for anyone who watches the Pat McAfee show. The truth of the matter is, when it comes to the Milwaukee Bucks, they don't have a shot without Damian Lillard. And obviously, news broke from reputable sources, multiple reputable sources, that he is likely to return in this series in game number 2 or game number 3, dealing with the unfortunate blood clots in that right calf. He's now been gone for 15 games. Hopefully not much longer. Now Liam, there's a Doc Rivers quote that I believe we have. I'm guessing, I'll put all my money on the fact that he has a hoarse voice after this particular loss, but he spoke about this loss, unfortunately going down 0-1. And you know Doc Rivers, he wants to get back in that winner's circle so bad. It has been 17 years since he's won an NBA championship. In his Hall of Fame career, he would love to add title number 2. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case with the Bucks this particular year, dealing with the juggernaut that is Boston and Cleveland. But Mr. Hoarse Voice Doc Rivers spoke afterwards. Here's what he had to say about the loss.
It's going to be a strange statement. I thought our offense was awful. I thought our offense contributed as much to our defense as anything. We just didn't play the way we've played during this stretch offensively. And I thought we had a lot of missed shots, which allowed them to have a lot of breakouts. So,
man, what was the question that caused him to go so deep into his team like that? I mean, he didn't say like they struggled. He didn't say like we can be better. Hey, do me a favor, Liam, because I know you have this ability. I just want you to play literally the part where he's asked, or I don't know, maybe just gave a direct declarative answer without even being asked about his offense. Then I want you to cut it off there.
it's going to be a strange statement. I thought our offense was awful.
Woo! Dang. I mean, talk about using the press to send a message. I don't know if the veterans like Giannis Antetokounmpo and the mayor that is Bobby Portis and Pat Connaughton and Brooke Lopez are going to appreciate that.
Yeah, I don't know about Giannis in particular. I feel like that's something that would get under his skin, but I think maybe this lights a fire under Damian Lillard's behind. He's out, and then he has the opportunity to come back. I don't know what is he, 60, 70% when he comes back?
Well, here's the thing. That's a very astute observation on your part, but let's be real. Damian Lillard has missed the last 15 games. There was a good chance for some time he felt like he would not play again in a Bucks uniform this season. You think he needs more motivation to be out there right now?
It's a good point.
Well, thank you. I have some every now and then. But I don't, that's a really crappy move on Doc Rivers' part. Like, you're the leader. You got to inspire your guys. And if you want to send a message, you do it behind closed doors. You don't do it in front of the press where you allow your team to just get mocked and derided because the head coach is coming at them publicly. Like, that's
going to be a strange statement. I thought our offense was awful.
Yeah, I mean, again, geez. I mean, Doc, take some accountability and responsibility. Well, why was the offense awful? And let's be honest, and we had a really intelligent caller say this at the beginning of the show. You did this to yourself, Milwaukee. You traded a legit third option in Chris Middleton for Kyle Kuzma. What has Kyle Kuzma done as a significant contributor to any NBA championship team? He never has. Yes, he was part of the Lakers rotation when they won in the bubble. He wasn't a significant contributor. When I think of significant contributors to the Lakers in 2020, you think of LeBron, you think of AD, you think of potentially Rajon Rondo at times. That's it. And then it was the rest of the guys knowing their role and being a really effective supporting cast. But to expect Kyle Kuzma to be the third banana, because that's what Chris Middleton was, you have yourselves to thank for this, Milwaukee. It's a damn shame. And Doc Rivers, just one more time for the record, how did your team do on offense on Saturday?
It's going to be a strange statement. I thought our offense was awful.
Yeah. Well, Doc, something you can relate to when it comes to coaching in Game 7s. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That is 888-710-4476. When we get back, we will take your calls. We will also talk about the redemption that is Russell Westbrook. Not Brick, Brook. At least this particular round one of the NBA playoffs. So much more to do on The Good Shepherd. You can always follow me at Shep on Air on any social media platform. You can always hit us up on our YouTube chat if you cannot get through on our busy phone lines. We get to Westbrook on the other side. Before we do anything else, let's get to our latest sports flash and our final sports flash of this particular Good Shepherd version on Sunday. Let's get to Kavitha Davidson.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
All right, Shep. NBA playoffs underway. The Knicks beat the Pistons 123-112. Detroit seemed in control of this game, shooting over 50% and leading by 8 after 3. But momentum swung drastically in New York's favor in the fourth. The Knicks went on a 21-0 run over the course of 4.5 minutes, outscoring the Pistons by 19 in the quarter. After the game, Jalen Brunson talked about that run in the fourth.
I think we're just connected in the way we're getting stops out there and just finding a way to get on transition after getting ball. Just the way we played defensively then was key for us, especially in that fourth quarter.
Brunson finished with 34 points and 8 assists and made 10 of his final 14 shots. The Lakers could not contain the Timberwolves and their outside shooting. Minnesota beat the Lakers 117-95 despite 37 points from Luka Doncic. The Wolves set a franchise playoff record with 21 threes made.
Luka in the corner tried to save it, but he threw it right to Jaden McDaniels. 5-on-4. Luka's still down, back across the play. Here's Ant, open on the corner three, he hits it. How about that? Edwards puts the Wolves up 85-58.
Call courtesy of Timberwolves Radio Network. The Nuggets bested the Clippers 112-110 in overtime. Nikola Jokic led Denver with 29 points, 9 rebounds, and 12 assists, but it was Russell Westbrook coming up clutch down the stretch.
Jokic has it at the point. He's working against Derek Jones Jr. Starts backing him down, gets double teamed. Kick out three over to Murray. Doesn't shoot it. Throws back behind him over to Jokic. Jokic back over to Westbrook for three. Yes! Denver's within 4. 1 minute to go.
Call courtesy of Nuggets Radio Network. Denver is now 4-0 under interim head coach David Edelman. Pacers blow out the Bucks 117-98. Pascal Siakam 25.7 rebounds. Tyrese Halliburton 10 points, 12 assists. Giannis Antetokounmpo with 36 points for Milwaukee, but he was held to just 1 assist. Stanley Cup playoff action. Avalanche beat the Stars 5-1 thanks to 2 goals and an assist by Nathan McKinnon. And the Jets score 3 goals in the third to come back against the Blues. They take game 1 5-3. I'm Kavitha Davidson.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Check out our new and improved website at infinitysportsnet.com. That's infinitysportsnet.com.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To strongly disagree with you.
This is the Good Shepherd, the Infinity Sports Network.
Welcome back, everybody. David Shepard on the Infinity Sports Network. Great to be with you every single Saturday, every single Sunday. Number to get aboard, 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. This particular Saturday was the redemption of Russell Westbrook. I feel like I'm at a concert right now. It was the redemption of Russell Westbrook in many ways. This was an individual that we saw, unfortunately, squander a 60-point triple-double by Nikola Jokic with bricking a layup and then missing a complete defensive assignment when he fouled a three-point shooter and ultimately gave the game away to Minnesota. That was the beginning of the end for Michael Malone in his time in Denver and ultimately got the pink slip not too much longer after that. But he is the Ringo Starr of NBA players. Now, if you have no idea what I'm talking about when I reference Ringo Starr, just watch him perform at 84 years old. He never stops coming. He never stops fighting. He is always giving his best, no matter what happened the day, the week, the month, the year before. And that was Russell Westbrook for you. Had the three-point basket that ultimately gave the Nuggets that decisive lead, which gave them that cushion. So when James Harden did make that floater with that high arcing layup off the glass to send this game to overtime, it was Russell's three that allowed the Nuggets to ultimately prevail. And then it was his defensive deflection late in overtime that sealed this game for the Denver Nuggets. And a lot of people felt like with the addition of David Allen, that there would be less playing time for Russell Westbrook. But you can't keep the great ones down. And he gets so much slack and so much criticism for his lack of ability to actually shoot a wide open basket. He gets so much criticism for his errant decision-making. But when push comes to shove, it wasn't Jamal Murray making the big shot down the stretch. It wasn't Jamal Murray on the other side of the floor getting the key defensive stop. It was the 17-year NBA veteran, Russell Westbrook. You can say a lot of things about his game. You can always talk about how he never made that conscious effort to become a lethal outside shooter. We'll absolutely agree with you on that. Didn't do what he could to really develop the mid-range game like we see from someone like a DeMar DeRozan, like a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, even Steph Curry to some extent, someone obviously more comparable to Russell Westbrook's size. But what the takeaway for me is in watching Russell Westbrook is just when you want to count him out, he's having 15 points off the bench in a much-needed 15-point performance when obviously the Nuggets needed every single bit of it because they were down 15 points in this game at one point, and that was anyone's game down the stretch. And the Clippers, they're a team that is not a typical 5 seed. Remember, Kawhi Leonard missed nearly the first 40 games of this year due to recovery and injury. So this is typically what you see from a 2 seed, 3 seed in terms of the talent they have out there. But because Kawhi missed so much time, they were constantly climbing uphill all season. But they did finish this year going 18-3 in their last 21. They did finish this season winning their last 8 games. So for Denver, with all the turmoil of firing the most successful head coach in their franchise history, the fact that they are now 4-0 with David Adelman, someone who does not have any NBA head coaching experience prior to this, or any head coaching experience minus the exception of what he did back in high school in 2011, for them to be in this position where they essentially stole a game from the Clippers, you got to like the Nuggets' chances at this point to at least get out of the first round, because you just felt like whoever won that first game, they were going to have something to say moving forward in this series. Folks, I'm out of things to say, but it was great to be with you. You can always follow me at Shep on Air, and you can always hit us up on the YouTube chat. Liam Flynn, excellent job. Thank you for all your hard work, sir. But do not go anywhere. Put him up! Carl Dukes, he's coming up next. Be good to each other. Be good to yourselves. This is David Shepard saying I love you all. We'll talk soon, everybody. Have a great rest of your weekend.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining.